Chapter 53. Mega's president, Fang Zimu, actually signed a contract to be the spokesperson for EVFA's new fall product. Once this news came out, it immediately shook Xiong City's shopping malls and upper-class circles. Very quickly, well-informed media dug out the photos of Xiao Jingmo's birthday banquet that someone had secretly taken. That photo was precisely taken when Su Wan and Su Rui were dancing. Very quickly, the news regarding young Master Fang and EVFA's general manager Su Wan's relationship spread throughout the entire Xiong City. At this time, Su Rui had already helped Su Wan take hard photos of the latest quarter's products in accordance with the contract. Because Su Rui's current body foundation was particularly good, the samples taken were also particularly outstanding. Su Wan sent the samples to the overseas headquarters and received a positive reply and praise from the headquarters on the same day. Very soon, Xiong City's EVFA counters were replaced with the latest images of the spokesperson. Fang Zimu still had considerable appeal in Xiong City. On the day when the new billboards were replaced, the new products at the counters were almost all snapped up. With such popularity, EVFA's new season's product launch was also particularly eye-catching. It was unprecedentedly grand, and the effect was extraordinary. This was Su Wan's first shot after taking office. Because the completion was too perfect, after the press conference ended, Su Wan booked a hotel and took all the staff to celebrate. Of course, Su Rui, the brand spokesperson, also participated in this celebration. The two people rarely came in contact recently. Su Wan was always cold and sarcastic. Su Rui also didn't seem to want to continue asking for a snub. At the celebration banquet, everyone was in high spirits. By the end of the banquet, most of them were drunk. Perhaps it was because he drank too much wine. Su Rui's gaze was somewhat blurred. He saw that Su Wan didn't drink many cups of wine the whole night, always indifferently drifting away from the crowd. Other people hindered her position and no one dared to go up and urge her to drink, but Su Rui didn't care so much. He directly took a bottle of wine and sat beside Su Wan, his drunken gaze tightly staring at Su Wan's face. "I helped you so much, you have to drink with me. We are just mutually beneficial." Su Wan raised her hand and pushed away the wine bottle that Su Rui placed in front of her. "Mutual benefit? Why don't I feel like I'm taking advantage of you?" Su Rui smiled with some dissatisfaction and stubbornly pushed the bottle back. "Isn't your family planning to enter the department store industry?" Su Wan leaned sideways and propped up her cheek with one hand. She raised the corner of her eye and looked at Su Rui. "What if I can convince headquarters to cancel the contract with Haoyue Group and instead cooperate with your Mega?" Fang family started off by relying on financial investments. Their original wealth was accumulated very quickly, but this kind of development was not a long-term plan in today's rapidly developing economy. In contrast, Xiao family had been steadily and surely building up. They started off by relying on the supermarket chain and department store industry. Although Xiao family's Haoyue Group had already begun to involve various industries, including the most violent real estate industry, but in fact, the department store industry was still Xiao family's foundation. The huge profits of the real estate market would not last long, especially after the country issued a restriction order. The whole market had begun to decline. On the contrary, as young people gradually entered society, they became the most mainstream consumer group, and these high-consumption groups would soon drive the booming development of the department store industry, especially after the combination of e-commerce and counter stores. It was even more popular and sought after by young people. In fact, Fang family also saw the development advantage in this area and was planning to establish the first department store in Xiong City that was connected to the national network. EVFA, as a European luxury fashion brand, had a great appeal in the fashion industry. At this time, if EVFA abandoned Xiao family and turned to cooperate with Fang family, it would affect the choices of many other brands. This was simply a gargantuan benefit for Fang family. Sure enough, hearing Su Wan's words, Su Rui's drunkenness disappeared in an instant. He stared fixedly at Su Wan. "Are you serious?" "Of course it's true. The people at headquarters appreciate you very much. If cooperating with you can let us obtain more benefits, why would they object?" Businessmen, pursuing profit was the biggest premise. In the business world, there would not be eternal friends and enemies. Your contract with Haoyue seems to still have half a year. Su Rui used his finger to tap on the table. There might be other changes in this half a year. Although he didn't know the specifics of their cooperation, Su Rui could imagine that the liquidated damages in the contract would absolutely be an astronomical figure. You should know that I can't wait that long. Hearing Su Rui's words, Su Wn just mysteriously smiled at him. I have a way to make Xiao Jingmo take the initiative to terminate the contract. Su Wan always liked to do things step by step. Calculating the time, she felt that Xiao Jingmo should have already investigated some things at this time. The next time they meet, she really didn't know what kind of scene it would be. Seeing Su Wan's confident appearance, Su Rui only felt somewhat stuffy in his chest. Yes, she always had this kind of method, otherwise, she wouldn't have played so many people in circles. Regarding Su Wan's acting skills and scheming, Su Rui had the deepest understanding. Sullenly pouring himself another cup of wine, Su Rui drank the full cup of white wine in one gulp without saying a word. After the celebration banquet ended, apart from Su Wan, among the large group of people, only Xu Jie was still barely able to maintain his sobriety. Chief Su, I'll send them to the car one by one. You take good care of young Master Fang. Xu Jie felt that he really was the most considerate assistant in the world. Seeing Xu Jie supporting his drunk colleagues and sending them to the taxi one by one, Su Wn turned around and looked at Su Rui, who was lying on his Maserati without a care for his image. After looking for a long time, Su Wan finally shook her head. She walked to Su Rui's side and put her hand into his pocket to take out Su Rui's cell phone. What's the password? Su Wn stared at the screen of the cell phone while raising her hand and lightly patting Su Rui's cheek. Password? Su Rui raised his eyes in a daze and looked at Su Wn absent-mindedly. Then he somewhat dazedly smiled. Password is 0607. Chapter 54. When Fang Ziwen drove to the vicinity of the hotel, she saw her family's eldest brother holding Su Wan with one hand from a distance. She didn't know what he was gesturing, but Su Wan's expression looked somewhat impatient. Thinking of the things written in the newspapers and on the internet about Su Wan and her big brother, Fang Ziwen also hesitated for a moment. Finally, she drove the car to the entrance of the hotel. When he alighted from the car, a gust of cold wind blew against his face. Fang Ziwen was still wearing a short skirt that didn't reach her knees. Fortunately, she was already used to dressing like this and didn't feel particularly cold. Your brother is drunk. Take him home. When Su Wn saw Fang Ziwen appear, she immediately struggled out of Su Rui's embrace and pushed his swaying body, pushing him in front of Fang Ziwen. This feeling of going back to their own homes and finding their own mothers at any time made Su Rui somewhat flustered. Su Wn, Xiao Wn, he hurriedly raised his hand and grabbed in the air, but in the end, he only caught Su Wan's warm fingertips. You're drunk, go back and have a good rest. Su Wn forcefully pulled out her hand and then politely smiled at Fang Ziwen. When you go back, don't forget to prepare a hangover soup for him. I'm leaving now. Huh? Fang Ziwen stared blankly. Before she could say a word, she watched helplessly as Su Wn turned around and got into her car. In a flash, she had already driven away. What was going on? Fang Ziwen gloomily turned her head to look at her brother, who was swaying left and right. She somewhat hatefully said, "You're usually as shrewd as a fox. It was such a good opportunity, but you actually made yourself so drunk. If you have the ability, then make her drunk too. Where did your usual arrogance go?" As she spoke, Fang Ziwen gloomily raised her hand and wanted to help Su Rui to her car. Who knew that as soon as she approached, Su Rui would suddenly open her hand. Tidying up his messy coat, Su Rui narrowed his eyes and looked dangerously at Fang Zi. What did you just say? Come, say it again. Ah. Fang Ziwen's complexion changed. Brother, so you're not drunk? It was all an act. As expected of a cunning fox. Fang Ziwen thought about it. She felt that she was the most hindrance. Brother, I was wrong. How about I chase Su Wn back? Fang Ziwen put on a pitiful expression and cautiously looked at Su Rui. Forget it, get in the car. Su Rui waved his hand and took the lead to get on Fang Ziwen's car. He directly sat in the back seat. Fang Ziwen trembled. Seeing that her elder brother didn't flip out, she immediately got in the car and started the engine. The car drove all the way to Fang family's villa. Because Su Rui was in the car, Fang Ziwen didn't dare to drive too fast. Su Rui, who had a gloomy face, made several phone calls in a row after getting in the car. Fang Ziwen didn't understand much about doing business, but she heard Su Rui instructing people to release the rumor that EVFA wanted to terminate the contract with Haoyue. She also heard him telling people to take advantage of tomorrow's stock price drop to take the opportunity to absorb Haoyue's shares. Fang Ziwen's hand that had been steadily driving slightly trembled. Although she was somewhat afraid of her elder brother, thinking of her fiancé, Fang Ziwen still gathered her courage and asked in a low voice, "Big brother, are you planning to make a move against Haoyue? Make a move against Haoyue?" Su Rui lazily raised his eyes and indifferently glanced at Fang Ziwen. This spoiled rich young lady still didn't seem to know that the reason why she was able to become Xiao Jingmo's fiancé was all because of Xiao Laoye's plot against Fang family. Fang family had been at the top of Xiong City for far too long. If Xiao family wanted to replace them, it wouldn't be a matter of 1 or 2 days. Moreover, many people in the business world knew that as Xiao family continued to rise, Fang family was also gradually declining. Fang family would be replaced by Xiao family or even be annexed. It was only a matter of time. When Su Rui accepted Fang Zimu's body, he also received the original owner's memory. Fang Zimu was also considered a business genius, but compared to Xiao family, he was still a step behind. Xiao Laoyezi was old. He put all his hopes on Xiao Jingmo's performance in these past few years finally didn't disappoint his expectations. The only thing that made Xiao Laoyezi dissatisfied was Xiao Jingmo's attitude towards relationships. As a result, Xiao Laoyezi personally appointed the marriage with Fang family. Fang family's head was also muddle-headed and actually thought that this was a good thing. However, Fang Zimu understood. How could his younger sister enter Xiao Jingmo's eyes? Fang Zimu, who was familiar with Fang Ziwen's character, knew that Fang Ziwen would sooner or later provoke Xiao Jingmo. Once Xiao Jingmo, that person, became ruthless, he would absolutely exterminate them. Therefore, Fang Zimu acted in advance before this. He secretly gathered funds while creating many situations where he encountered Luo Chu. Since Xiao Laoyezi started with his younger sister, then he might as well start with the women around Xiao Jingmo. The original plot of this world was that Fang Zimu initially approached Luo Chu with the intention of using her to attack Xiao Jingmo. Who knew that after a long time, he actually pretended to really fall in love with Luo Chu. And at this time, Xiao Jingmo and Luo Chu broke up and reunited with Su Wan. Fang Zimu took advantage of this opportunity to accompany Luo Chu by her side, wanting to win her affection. Unfortunately, Fang Zimu always had a younger sister by his side who didn't let people feel at ease. She specialized in trapping her own people. Fang Ziwen was instigated by Ouyang Jing, who had always admired Fang Zimu. She actually hired a hitman to drive a car and hit Luo Chu. In the end, Luo Chu got into a car accident and entered the hospital. Because of this matter, Xiao Jingmo actually saw his own heart and finally successfully reunited with Luo Chu. Later, Xiao Jingmo found out that the real culprit behind the scenes was Fang Ziwen. He high-profile broke off the engagement with Fang family and crazily attacked Fang family's business in the market. Fang Zimu lost his beloved and his career wasn't smooth. He lost control and made the wrong decision. He tampered with Xiao Jingmo's car and the result was Su Wan's death. After straightening out some things in his mind, Su Rui thought for a bit and made another phone call. This phone call was to the private detective agency that he had been patronizing. What movements has Ouyang Jing made recently? Hearing Su Rui ask about Ouyang Jing's current situation, a low and deep male voice was immediately transmitted over the phone. Miss Ouyang is still recuperating in the private hospital recently. I asked the private nurse inside. She should be discharged this weekend. Ever since that night when she was thrown by Su Wan on the barren mountain cemetery, Ouyang Jing suffered a huge fright. She had been recuperating all this time, so she had been calm and tranquil these days. But once she was discharged from the hospital, she would definitely come out to die again. In fact, Su Rui was already secretly planning to overthrow Ouyang family. However, because this matter had to be carried out in a particularly secretive manner, the speed was a bit slower. After she is discharged from the hospital, you have to closely watch her for 24 hours. Once she has any abnormal behavior, you have to immediately report to me. After he finished instructing the private detective, Su Rui put away his phone. When he raised his head, he saw Fang Ziwen sneakily using the rearview mirror to look at him. Su Rui sighed. His body stretched out and comfortably leaned on the back seat. Then, he slowly closed his eyes. Seeing that Su Rui didn't want to say anything, Fang Ziwen curled her lips. Her face was unhappy. When she was about to continue to concentrate on driving, Su Rui, who was pretending to sleep with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his mouth without warning. Ouyang Jing isn't a good person. You usually stay away from her. If she bewitches you to do something, you must not be fooled. Got it, big brother? Chapter 55. When she received the call from the European headquarters, Su Wan was driving on the way to the company. May, for something like this to happen, you must give the company and the media a perfect answer. Otherwise, the board of directors will question your ability to work. May, all these years, in my eyes, you have always separated public and private affairs very clearly. Why are you so muddle-headed this time? On the phone, Ken, who had the characteristics of a chatterbox, kept chattering, and Su Wan finally came back to her senses after listening for a long time. Taking advantage of the traffic jam, she took out her tablet to search for some news in Xiong City. Sure enough, the news that EVFA wanted to terminate the contract with Haoyue and the photo of her and Su Rui hugging at the entrance of the hotel had already entered the hot search list. Ken, this is an accident. Give me 3 days, I will handle it well. If I can't handle it well, I will take the initiative to resign. Hearing Su Wan speak so seriously, Ken on the other side of the phone seemed to be stunned. May, with our friendship, I still believe you. You don't have to be too anxious. I will help you deal with the board of directors these few days. You settle the matter as soon as possible. Okay, I know what to do. Hanging up the international call from the headquarters, Su Wan somewhat irritably rubbed her eyebrows. Sure enough, Su Rui won't sit still and wait for death. Truly a troublesome guy. The phone rang impatiently again. Su Wan took a look and discovered that it was Xu Jie's phone. Once the phone was connected, Xu Jie's familiar voice transmitted from inside. In the past, he was dressed like an elite and was unusually calm and refined. Today, his tone was slightly urgent. Chief Su, have you seen the news? I know everything. Su Wan's tone was as dull as ever. The current news is very unfavorable to us. Xu Jie, first inform the Public Relations Department to do a good job in crisis public relations. Don't worry about other things. Wait for me to go to the company and deal with it together. Okay, understood. Xu Jie's phone call had not yet hung up when a new call came through. Su Wan simply turned off her phone and concentrated on driving while the traffic slowly moved. Early in the morning, the entire company was in chaos. When Su Wan drove to the entrance of the company, she saw familiar financial reporters already waiting outside the company. She simply drove the car in a circle and finally entered the office building from the back door. Seeing Su Wan appear, the company's cadres all gathered around. What are you all panicking for? Is there nothing to do? Disperse and do what you need to do. Come to the conference room at 9 o'clock sharp for the meeting. Coldly throwing down these words, Su Wan directly took the elevator back to her office. Xu Jie had long been waiting at the door of her office. Seeing Su Wan's figure, Xu Jie immediately handed over the script prepared by the PR department to Su Wan. Su Wan only roughly glanced at it twice and stuffed the script back into Xu Jie's hands. For the time being, let's arrange it like this. Help me cancel all of my original appointments this morning, and then help me arrange a meeting with Haoyue's elder Xiao. Old Xiao? Xu Jie stared blankly for a moment because elder Xiao hadn't asked about the company's matters for a long time. In the past 2 years, Haoyue's big and small matters were all decided by Xiao Jingmo. Although it was a bit unexpected, Xu Jie still earnestly nodded and carried out Su Wan's instructions one by one. This morning, Su Wan was particularly busy. After appeasing the media that rushed over after hearing the news, she began to appease the elites of various departments in the company. Finally, she was tired of dealing with the bombardment of phone calls from those partners. Until she met Xiao Lei at the agreed tea house, Su Wan's face still carried an unconcealable look of exhaustion. "Are you tired? Try the Da Hong Pao here." Xiao Lei was already over 70 years old this year, but his complexion was still ruddy and his hair was white like a crane. At this time, he was wearing a black silk tang suit, sitting upright on a yellow pear-wood chair, looking particularly spirited. Su Wan smiled at Xiao Lei and gracefully picked up the teacup and took a sip. The fragrance lingered between her teeth. It was indeed a rare and good tea. "Although I don't know much about tea, it feels pretty good." Su Wan put down the teacup and smiled at Xiao Lei. Xiao Lei looked at Su Wan with some surprise. Just now, whether it was the action of holding the teacup or the posture of tasting the tea, she was particularly skilled and authentic. Originally, Xiao Lei thought that Su Wan was deliberately showing off in front of him, but he didn't expect that she would bluntly say that she didn't understand tea at all. This girl, she had made a lot of progress in these few years abroad. Thinking like this, Xiao Lei's gaze towards Su Wan also softened a bit. "Su family's girl, you asked me out this time because of the matter reported in the morning news, right? My old bones have long since stopped paying attention to the company's matters. If you have anything, you should look for a mo and talk about it." Because the rumor that EVFA wanted to terminate the contract with Haoyue caused a ruckus, when the stock market opened this morning, Haoyue's stock plummeted. Although there was already a trend of recovery, it didn't rule out that someone would take the opportunity to maliciously buy Haoyue's shares. Regarding the black hand behind the scenes of this matter, Xiao Lei had already found out. It was all the work of that little brat from Fang family. Regarding Xiao Jingmo, Su Wan, and Fang Zimu's current relationship, Xiao Lei didn't care much. But Su Wan suddenly wanted to meet him, which made Xiao Lei surprised. Because he had some doubts and curiosity in his heart, Xiao Lei didn't hesitate to agree to Su Wan's invitation. "Xiao Lei, this junior asked you out today for a little private matter." The expression on Su Wan's face suddenly became somewhat complicated and lonely. "That matter 8 years ago, I know. It was you who did it." Xiao Lei slightly raised his eyelids. A faint radiance flashed through his pair of seemingly muddy eyes. He calmly looked at Su Wan a few times. Seeing that Su Wan didn't continue, Xiao Lei simply took a sip of tea and then unhurriedly put down the teacup and looked at Su Wan. "Since you know, then this matter, you did it on purpose? Deliberately looking for Fang Zimu to cooperate and deliberately releasing unfavorable rumors against Haoyue?" "No." Su Wan smiled bitterly. "If I wanted to retaliate, after returning to the country, I would go find Jingmo and have a showdown. If he knew the truth of that year, what do you think he would do?" Su Wan knew Xiao Jingmo's personality, and Xiao Lei understood his grandson even more. That year, because he broke up an affectionate couple, he already lost his father. Xiao Jingmo's mother also died of depression because of this. If Xiao Jingmo now knew that the reason why Su Wan left him that year was also his doing, Xiao Lei could be sure that he and this grandson that he found with great difficulty would absolutely fall out because of this. In the end, what do you want to do? Right now, Xiao Lei's gaze that looked at Su Wan was already undisguised sharp. That year, Xiao Lei saw that this girl was very smart and also came from a merchant family. This kind of granddaughter-in-law, Xiao Lei didn't like it. He would rather let Xiao Jingmo and Luo Chu, that kind of silly girl, be together. He also didn't want Xiao family's business to fall into the hands of outsiders in the future. "Lei, you seem to hate me very much." Feeling Xiao Laoyez's gaze, Su Wan somewhat self-deprecatingly picked up the teacup again, her slender fingers gently rubbing the edge of the purple sand teacup. In fact, Jingmo also noticed some things. "These past few days, my friend abroad called me and said that someone was investigating me. I suspect that he sent that person." As she spoke, Su Wn raised her head again and looked at Xiao Leioi with clear eyes. When I came back this time, I saw that Jing Mo was very happy. I was very happy for him. The past matters are in the past. I don't want him to add to his troubles. I asked you to come out today just to inform you in advance. Once the matter of that year comes to light, please make preparations first. As for me, I will explain it clearly to Jing Mo. The matter of terminating the contract this time might be my last involvement with him. Perhaps it was because Su Wan's expression was too serious and her gaze wasn't mixed with a trace of impurity. Hearing her words, Xiao Leioi's heart actually slightly wavered. In fact, he also understood the Su family's life these past few years. Su Wan didn't lack pursuers abroad, but in these 8 years, she had always been clean and self-respecting. Perhaps, she really had always been deeply in love with Xiao Jingmo. Xiao Leioi suddenly felt that he was really old. Regarding the matters of young people's love and affection, he really couldn't understand it. Leioi, I'll leave first. There are still a lot of things to do at the company. As she spoke, Su Wn already stood up and prepared to leave. Don't you resent me? When Su Wn got up, Xiao Leioi suddenly asked in a low voice. Su Wan's departing figure slightly paused for a moment. She turned sideways and faintly smiled at Xiao Leioi. You are Jingmo's grandfather, how can I resent you? After all, everything you do is for his own good. I believe that even if he knows in the future, he will understand you. These words seemed to have finally reached the bottom of Xiao Leioi's heart. He lightly sighed and his gaze gradually softened as he looked at Su Wn. Su family's girl, do you still like Mo? I don't like him. Su Wn lightly turned her back to Xiao Leioi and replied in a complicated voice, he is the only man I have ever loved in this life. After speaking, Su Wan quickly left. Until Su Wan's figure disappeared at the entrance of the tea house, Xiao Leioi sighed and leaned on the chair, saying heavily, you heard everything? Behind the red sandalwood screen behind him, a tall and slender figure slowly walked out. This person was Xiao Jingmo. In fact, Xiao Jingmo already knew the truth from 8 years ago yesterday. Today, such a big matter happened in the company and he didn't care. He left behind a big pile of things and returned to the old residence to find his grandfather to confront. He didn't expect that the old man would suddenly receive an invitation from Su Wan. It was Xiao Leioi who brought Xiao Jingmo along. The old man originally wanted Xiao Jingmo to clearly see Su Wan's true face, but in the end, he saw a sadistic love affair. This could also be considered a freak accident. Su Wan originally wanted to brush up a favorable impression with Xiao Leioi, who knew that there would be an unexpected harvest. This was truly called life is like a play, it all depends on acting skills. Chapter 56. Su Rui's way of doing things had indeed brought a lot of trouble to Su Wan. In fact, it wasn't that no one in the headquarters objected to her becoming the general manager of the Huaxia region. On the contrary, her competitors were very powerful. In the end, she only got this opportunity by relying on a slight advantage. And now, the rumors about her and Fang Zimu, as well as the news of her abandoning the public for personal reasons, forcibly terminating the contract with Haoyue spread, making those restless people in the headquarters start to make new moves. Su Wan, who left the tea house, didn't know that Xiao Jingmo was actually following her all the way. She didn't want to return to the company at this time. Parking the car in an open-air parking lot, Su Wan tightened the thin coat on her body and quietly strolled along the road. Xiao Jingmo drove the car far away and slowly followed behind Su Wan. At this time, his mood was also very restless. In his mind, the words that Su Wan and his grandfather said constantly lingered. It turned out that she had always loved him deeply. It turned out that she had never abandoned or betrayed him. On the other hand, it was because of him that his family was almost ruined and killed. Xiao Jingmo's heart was filled with guilt and vaguely throbbing and at a loss that he hadn't felt for a long time. Some feelings seemed to be unknowingly rekindling. Looking at Su Wan's lonely and desolate back through the car window, Xiao Jingmo's heart suddenly surged with a strong impulse. He really wanted to tightly hold her in his arms. He really wanted to properly hug her and look at her. He really wanted to personally ask her whether she was well or not all these years. Unknowingly, Sue Wn had already walked to the entrance of a park. Looking at the park in the original owner's memory and the slightly dilapidated park in front of her eyes overlapping, Sue Wn just slightly shook her head. When the pressure was too great or too tired, she liked to stroll on the streets alone like this, relaxing her body and mind. Walking far enough, Sue Wn simply turned around at the entrance of the park and walked back in the direction she came from. Right at this time, the roar of a car suddenly sounded behind Sue Wn, especially ear-piercing. Sue Wn, be careful. Xiao Jingmo, who was sitting in the car, watched with his own eyes as a small car accelerated and crazily crashed into Sue Wn. At this time, Xiao Jingmo panicked. He jumped out of the car at a loss and desperately ran towards Sue Wan's direction. At this moment, he was frightened and blamed himself. He blamed himself for not having the courage to stand in front of Sue Wan and only knew how to follow behind her from a distance. Just like now, he desperately wanted to protect her, but he could only run helplessly. Accidents often happened in a split second. When Sue Wan came back to her senses, she discovered that she had been forcefully pushed to the other side of the road. The car that was obviously deliberately trying to murder her hit a tall figure until the figure was sent flying. The out-of-control car then hit a tree on the side of the road and finally stopped. On the smooth street, the color of blood spread. Sue Wan widened her eyes and looked at the man lying in a pool of blood. Her breathing stopped for a moment. Sue, Fang Zimu. Seeing Xiao Jingmo's panicked figure, Sue Wan finally called out Fang Zimu's name. Bright red blood dyed Su Rui's black windbreaker. He fell to the ground, his hair messy, but he still smiled at Sue Wan. I'm fine. Yes, you'll be fine. Sue Wan calmly took out her phone and dialed the police and emergency number. Her tone was as cold and calm as usual, but Su Rui vaguely saw that Su Wan's hand holding the phone had been trembling uncontrollably. The ambulance came just in time. Su Wan and Xiao Jingmo accompanied Su Rui all the way to the nearest hospital, and the driver who caused the accident had already been taken away by the police for questioning. Sitting in the corridor of the hospital, Su Wan was still tightly holding the phone in her hand. Seeing that she was excessively silent, Xiao Jingmo couldn't help but raise his hand and lightly pat Su Wan's shoulder. You don't need to worry too much. He'll be fine. In fact, although Su Rui lost a lot of blood, he didn't receive too serious an injury. With Su Rui's skill, at the moment of the accident, he had the opportunity to avoid all the vital parts and minimize the extent of his injury. As for why he still left so much blood, cough cough, General Su doesn't want to tell you. In fact, Su Wan was very clear that Su Rui's life shouldn't be in any danger in this world, but she was still a bit uneasy. She hadn't experienced this kind of uneasy emotion for a long time. It wasn't until the doctor transferred Su Rui to an ordinary private ward that Su Wan's heart was truly relieved. The ward was filled with the hospital's unique uncomfortable smell. Su Rui sat on the hospital bed. His arm was in a cast and his left leg was also wrapped in layers of bandages. He looked particularly pitiful. Let's eat. Su Wan took the insulated lunchbox and placed it on the cabinet at the side. As soon as the lid of the lunchbox was opened, a rich fragrance floated out from inside. You're on a diet right now. Drink some soup first. Su Wan said while taking out the prepared small bowl and scooping spoonfuls of soup for Su Rui. It was already the third day after the accident. Su Rui didn't transfer to another hospital and also refused the senior nurse that his family hired for him. In Su Rui's own words, he was injured because of Su Wan, so Su Wan had to take responsibility for him. Take full responsibility. Seeing that he was an injured person and also her savior, Su Wan could only reluctantly become Su Rui's nurse. Because Su Wan was busy with work, she only took time to come over during lunch and dinner. Although the two people didn't spend much time together, Su Rui seemed to be particularly satisfied with the feeling of being served by Su Wan. Seeing that Su Wan had scooped the soup, Su Rui immediately cooperated and opened his mouth wide. It was good that his arm was injured. He could finally enjoy the days when he stretched out his hand and opened his mouth to eat. Moreover, Drinking the soup that Su Wan personally fed him, the taste was not ordinary. Of course, if this soup was not bought but cooked by Su Wan herself, that would be the best. After drinking the soup, Su Rui still wished to continue. He tilted his head and attentively watched Su Wan's busy appearance in the ward. For a moment, he felt particularly satisfied, so General Su couldn't help but want to take a mile after taking an inch. Su Wan, I haven't bathed for a few days. I feel uncomfortable all over. Su Wan, who had her back facing Su Rui and was changing the flowers in the vase in the room, heard Su Rui's words and her movements slightly paused. She turned her head and glanced at Su Rui's injured arm and leg. You want to take a bath? It's not convenient for you to take a bath with this injury. It won't be good if you touch water. If you really can't take it anymore, you can only wipe your body. Wipe, that's fine. Su Rui seemed to be a bit dissatisfied and his tone was weak. Pretend, I'll let you pretend. Su Wan's expression was indifferent as she smiled. Okay, I got it. Wait for me at night. The company has been too busy recently. I have to go back first. Hearing Su Wan mention the company's matters, Su Rui couldn't help but ask, that matter from last time was handled? That matter naturally referred to the cancellation of the contract that caused a lot of noise. It's been handled. Su Wan responded. That matter was finally resolved by Xiao Jingmo on his own initiative. Perhaps because he felt that he owed something, the matter of the contract was finally perfectly resolved by Xiao Jingmo and the head office no longer pursued it. And these few days, Xiao Jingmo was still investigating the matter of the car. He felt that someone was targeting Su Wan and he wanted to help Su Wan find the person behind the scenes. In fact, Su Wan didn't need to investigate to know who that person was. In the original plot, because Fang Zimu liked Luo Chu Chu, Ouyang Jing bewitched Fang Zi when to spend money to hire people to cause a car accident. Chapter 57. After Su Wan left, there was only Su Rui left in the ward. He restrained the gentleness and smile on his face and his whole person returned to that kind of natural indifference and gloominess. He looked at the cast and bandages on his body with some disgust and thought that only like this would Su Wan be willing to accompany him. After weighing the pros and cons, Su Rui felt that it was better to maintain the status quo for the time being. He took out his cell phone from under the pillow on the hospital bed and dialed a familiar number. Boss. An indifferent male voice came from the phone. How is Ouyang Jing? Su Rui coldly asked. Even if Ouyang Jing wasn't here, when he mentioned this name, his eyes still flashed with an unconcealable killing intent. I've already taken good care of her according to boss's instructions. She won't die for the time being. The person on the phone respectfully answered Su Rui's question. I got it. What's the latest progress on Ouyang family's side? Su Rui seemed to feel uncomfortable sitting on the bed for too long. He held the phone with one hand while fumbling to get off the bed. His leg that was covered in bandages seemed to be fine and he could actually walk around on the ground at will. The person on the phone was still respectfully reporting about Ouyang family's matters. Ouyang Chi has already agreed to cooperate with us. Tomorrow, he will enter the board of directors. Right now, Ouyang family is in a mess with internal and external troubles. For the time being, no one will care about Ouyang Jing's matters. Well done. Ouyang family's matters must be settled as soon as possible. At the same time, Haoyue's shares must also be absorbed by me as much as possible. Separated by the ward's door that wasn't too thick, Xiao Jingmo stood perfectly straight in the corridor. Through the weak gap on the side of the door, not only could he clearly hear every word Su Rui said, he even saw with his own eyes the injured person swaggering around on the ground at will. Xiao Jingmo's gaze darkened. In the end, he still quietly left the ward. In the ward, after Xiao Jingmo left, Su Rui also hung up the phone. He rubbed his stiff neck that had been lying down for the past few days. His gaze swept past the door of the ward. Su Rui lowered his eyes and a mocking smile flashed across his lips. Xiao Jingmo was never an opponent in Su Rui's eyes. That was just a dispensable task target, nothing more. Just like Su Wan's task was to turn Xiao Jingmo, her ex-boyfriend, from the protagonist to cannon fodder, Surui's task was to ensure that the male and female protagonists of this world could be together smoothly. As for what happened in between, Surui never cared. When Su-Wan did the task, she was already very humane. She was very attentively doing what she wanted to do, but Surui was more simple and crude than anyone else. Before entering this world and meeting Su-Wan again, Surui had already completed a lot of tasks at an incredible speed. In the Plane Restorer headquarters, each task enforcer also had a completely different task route. Just like Chi Yu had always been engaged in the great profession of villain boss, and his archenemy Yun Sheng had always served as the life mentor beside the male protagonist, a brilliant but extremely easy to be cannon fodder role. As a newcomer, Surui only received the bitter task route of affectionate supporting male. This was the most arduous and unrewarding task route. He often had to live for the female protagonist, die for the female protagonist, and live a life worse than death for the female protagonist. It was said that the previous task enforcer who was engaged in this route was admitted to a sanatorium because of severe depression, which was why it was Surui's turn to take over. At that time, the people in the headquarters still didn't know that they would have the craziest affectionate supporting male task enforcer in history. Wasn't it just to let the male and female protagonists be together for a lifetime and never leave each other? At that time, Surui, who was still carrying a baleful aura, entered the first time-space that happened to be a figurehead dynasty. And according to the golden rule of supporting male, Surui's identity at that time was a powerful vassal king. The female protagonist of that task world was a naive and kind little palace maid, and the male protagonist was a depressed and unsuccessful prince. At that time, in order to complete the task as soon as possible and get points, Surui immediately organized his own forces to force the abdication of the throne to rebel and kill the monarch. After that, he changed the male protagonist to be the new emperor, holding the emperor in order to command the feudal vassals. As for the female protagonist, Surui directly sent her to the male protagonist's dragon bed, directly promoted from a little palace maid to the empress who was the mother of the world. Under Surui's tyrannical high-pressure policy, the little emperor lived in fear and trepidation. He and his empress still didn't have any emotional foundation at this time, but the huge imperial harem was dismissed by Surui. The little emperor only had the empress, one woman, and the two people were oppressed by Surui, forced to be together every day. Later, they gave birth to the crown prince, and the two people finally resigned to their fate and accepted this kind of life. And at this time, Surui also contacted the headquarters and received a positive reply that the task was completed. So it turned out that he could also complete the task like this. He could only blame himself for completing the first task too smoothly and oddly, which led to Surui walking further and further on the completely distorted task path. For example, in the cultivation world, smelt the flesh and blood of the female and male protagonists together into a magic weapon, and let their souls be trapped in the magic weapon forever. Or in the end of the world, simply turn the male and female protagonists into zombies and imprison them to feed and whatnot. This way, the male and female protagonists would really not leave each other for a lifetime. You have me in you, I have you. And the rules of the headquarters actually tacitly allowed this to be considered as completing the task. Your mother, this is simply cheating, right? Well, in fact, Surui didn't know how to normally complete the task, because he himself was originally not a normal person. When entering this world, Surui already had a particularly simple and crude method for Xiao Jing Mo and Luo Chu Chu's ending, but all the original plans changed after he met Surui again. Chapter 58. When Su-Wan came to the hospital ward after work, Surui was leaning on the hospital bed, holding a laptop and watching a TV series. That's right, it was the kind of melodramatic 8 o'clock and brainless idol drama with the halo of the Virgin Mary Su. In fact, when Surui stayed at her house that day, Su-Wan realized that Surui seemed to have a special preference for this kind of TV series. That day, Su-Wan really just watched a few times out of boredom, but Surui actually knew the names and relationships of the characters and even the development of the plot like the back of his hand. In fact, what Su-Wan didn't know was that Surui, as a real ultimate villain who once destroyed a plane, had always been a bit twisted. And after being stimulated by Su-Wan in the original plane, It became even worse. After becoming a plane restorer, because his means of completing the task were too rough and cruel, he was assessed as an S-level dangerous task enforcer by the headquarters. And in order to let him better adapt to various mission planes and learn how to become a competent professional affectionate male supporting lead, the headquarters specially found a lot of TV series and novels similar to the plot of the mission plane for Su Rui to watch. Since then, watching all kinds of melodramatic and brainless TV series and all kinds of overbearing CEOs fall in love with me romance novels became one of Su Rui's hobbies. And after meeting Su Wan again, our family's General Su automatically acquired a second skill, which was to freely and easily apply the scenes he had seen in novels and TV dramas to real life. Of course, Su Rui's experimental subject of this skill was only Su Wan. For example, pretending to be drunk, a hero saving a beauty. You came. When Su Rui saw Su Wan's figure in the ward, his gaze immediately left the computer screen and stared at Su Wan without blinking. Su Wan lifted the insulated lunchbox in her hand. Hungry? There's a bit of a traffic jam today. She still carefully fed Su Rui, and no special expression could be seen on her face. During the meal, the two people didn't speak until they finished eating. Su Wan washed the insulated lunchbox in the bathroom. She saw Su Rui on the sickbed squinting his eyes and looking at her with a face full of love. You have a fever. Su Wan also narrowed her eyes and looked at Su Rui with a teasing face. Su Rui stretched out his intact arm. Didn't you say you would wipe my body at night? Oh, yeah. Su Wan seemed to have thought of something. She turned around and walked to the door. She opened the door and shouted towards the outside, "Come in." In the end, Su Rui saw a sturdy middle-aged woman wearing the blue clothing of a certain nursing center slowly walk in. Serve young master Fang well and clean him up. Su Wan very solemnly patted the nurse auntie's shoulder and then quickly left the ward under Su Rui's dumbstruck gaze. Before leaving, she didn't forget to forcefully close the door. In the ward, the caregiver was still standing in the same spot. She was dumbfounded as she watched the patient in front of her miraculously stood by the bed and blew air conditioning on her. In this day and age, being a nurse can also put your life in danger. Tilda the auntie was stunned by General Su's cold aura and didn't know how to react. But after Su Rui released his baleful aura, he thought of the TV series he just watched. It seems that black-bellied idiots are not the type that Su Wan likes. Should I change my style next time? There are thousands of CEOs in the world, there must be one that is her type. At this time, Su Wan had already arrived at the garden downstairs of the hospital. She didn't know that Su Rui had already decided to change his style in the next world. At this time, she just wanted to casually walk downstairs, but she didn't expect to meet Xiao Jingmo, who came to look for her. What a coincidence. I specially came to look for you. Xiao Jingmo looked travel-worn. As he spoke, he looked at Su Wan with a profound gaze. Su Wan, do you know who the person who harmed you this time is? It's Ouyang Jing, right? I haven't been back in the country for a long time. It seems that I only offended her. Su Wan's mood wasn't high and her voice was also very low. I didn't think that Ouyang Jing would want my life. I also didn't think that Fang Zimu, he. Su Wan, do you really like Fang Zimu? Xiao Jingmo suddenly raised his hand and gently pressed Su Wan's shoulder. Su Wan's body stiffened. She suddenly raised her head and looked at Xiao Jingmo in astonishment. Jingmo, you. I heard what you and grandfather said that day. Xiao Jingmo's eyes were especially beautiful. At this moment, he looked at Su Wan with incomparable seriousness and depth. At this moment, those eyes seemed to be unable to see everything, only her face could be seen. Xiao Wan, I'm sorry. I didn't protect you well. His voice was low and trembling with guilt. Jingmo, don't be like this. As if she couldn't bear this kind of situation, Su Wan forced herself to turn her face to the side and didn't dare to look at Xiao Jingmo face to face. Let bygones be bygones. You already have Luo Chu now, Xiao Wan. Feeling that Su Wan was desperately suppressing her feelings and sadness, Xiao Jingmo suddenly felt very distressed. This was Su Wan. This was the person he once deeply loved. She would always be like the one in his memory. Always so kind, only knowing how to think of others. How could such a kind person be deceived by Fang Zimu, that beast in human skin? Thinking of this, Xiao Jingmo couldn't help but slightly lean over and get closer to Su Wn. Xiao Wn, I investigated. The driver who hit you did receive money from Ouyang Jing in the beginning, but his real boss was Fang Zimu. What did you say? Su Wan turned her head again and looked at Xiao Jingmo with astonishment. You didn't hear wrong. It's Fang Zimu. I don't know where he found out that Ouyang Jing wanted to deal with you. After that, he found the driver and gave him a large sum of money. Then, he self-directed and acted out a hero saving the beauty. I came to the hospital this afternoon. Later, I also looked for Fang Zimu's attending doctor. The injuries on his body were also fake. Today, I saw with my own eyes that he was walking back and forth in the ward as if nothing had happened. Xiao Wn, Fang Zimu was deceiving you from the beginning. You must not believe him. How could it be? Like this? As if she was shocked by the news that Xiao Jingmo said, Su Wn froze in place. Her expression changed for a long time before she recovered. Jingmo, is this all true? Su Wn lightly bit her lips. The emotion on her face changed from shock to anger. I want to find him and confront him. I'll accompany you. When Su Wan and Xiao Jingmo arrived at the private ward upstairs, the frightened nurse auntie had already left. Su Rui's face was depressed as he faced the computer and let out cold air. Hearing the sound of the door opening and seeing Su Wan's face, the expression on Su Rui's face brightened. When he saw Xiao Jingmo behind Su Wan, Su Rui immediately lowered his eyes. What wind blew Chief Xiao here? His tone was unconcealable indifference. Ah. Xiao Jingmo's reply was also a sneer. Fang Zimu. At this time, you don't need to pretend anymore. Everything you did, Xiao Wan and I already know. Xiao Wan. He actually dared to call her so intimately. Su Rui's eyes were still drooping. His long and thick black eyelashes completely covered the cold murderous intention that flashed through his eyes. What do you know? Su Rui calmly raised his eyes and his gaze directly fell on Su Wan's body. Fang Zimu. Right now, Su Wan's face was very bad. Even her voice was somewhat trembling. Well, this was the movie queen mode fully opened. Su Rui was not at all unfamiliar with this kind of performance. Xiao Wan, did he say bad things about me in front of you? It was only a matter of a moment. Su Rui also automatically and consciously entered the acting mode. As for the name Xiao Wan, Su Rui told himself in his heart that this name could only be called by him in the future. As for other people, he would kill whoever called it Tilda. Chapter 59. In the ward, Xiao Jingmo stood at the side with a guardian's posture, staring at Su Rui with disdain. And Su Rui just looked at Su Wan with a blank face. Fang Zimu. Su Wan seemed to have stabilized her emotions and then slowly opened her mouth. The driver who caused the accident was bribed by you. The injuries on your body are also fake. You've been lying to me from the beginning, haven't you? With every word she said, Su Wan's expression became sadder. By the end, her eyes were already red. That kind of powerlessness and disappointment of being deeply deceived by the person she trusted was deeply acted out by her. Xiao Wan, what are you talking about? Su Rui somewhat inexplicably looked at Su Wan, then turned his head and fiercely looked at Xiao Jingmo. Xiao Jingmo, in the end, what did you say to her? I only said the facts that I found and saw. Xiao Jingmo's tone was very calm. At this point, Fang Zimu, you don't need to act anymore. Facts? Why is what you said the truth? Su Rui, who was on the hospital bed, coldly smiled. Is what you found the truth? You said that the driver was bribed by me. I also said that he was bribed by you to frame me. Xiao Jingmo, you and Su Wan have already broken up. I'm now Su Wan's boyfriend. Can you not be so meddlesome? Can you, an outsider, not blindly meddle in the matters between us? Outsider? These two words seemed particularly ear-piercing at this moment. Therefore, when he heard Su Rui's words, Xiao Jingmo's face also became unsightly. Fang Zimu, you're simply quibbling. If you really have a clear conscience, Do you dare to open the bandage on your leg and let us see? If you let me open it, I'll open it. Who do you think you are? Su Rui ruthlessly retorted. Right now, Su Wn and Xiao Jingmo were standing with their backs facing the door, so the two of them didn't realize that there was already a figure outside the ward. But Su Rui saw Luo Chuchu's figure at a glance. The ridicule in his eyes became even stronger. Xiao Jingmo, did you forget that you yourself have a girlfriend? Even if you want to go back and get back together with Su Wan, at least you have to first dump Luo Chuchu. Dragging down your family like this, you still have to take care of our matters. Don't you think you're very shameless? You're the truly shameless one. Seeing Su Rui quibble and glancing at the side, Su Wan's expression seemed to be somewhat shaken. Xiao Jingmo was momentarily flustered and didn't care about his usual gentleman's etiquette. He suddenly rushed to the bedside and lifted the quilt on Su Rui's body. Both of his hands aimed at his injured leg and fiercely tore the bandage on his leg. Blood continued to ooze out, and the wound that had already started to heal was torn open by the sudden contact. The white leg bone could even be seen from the bleeding wound. It was a bone-deep wound. Xiao Jingmo froze in place. Su Rui's expression did not change as he coldly stared at Xiao Jingmo. In the end, who is the one with ulterior motives? Xiao Jingmo, if I remember correctly, you were also at the scene on the day of the incident, right? Don't tell me you just happened to pass by. Why do you keep pestering Xiao Wan? Do you think that Cinderella in your villa knows about this? For a moment, Xiao Jingmo was at a loss for words. On the other hand, Su Wan on the side seemed to be shocked by the blood on Su Rui's leg. Her expression panicked and she immediately turned and ran towards the door. I'll go call the doctor. The ward's door was opened without warning. Su Wan blankly looked at Luo Chuchu, who was standing at the door without saying a word. Luo. Su Wan wanted to say something, but Luo Chuchu in front of her just smiled reluctantly. I seem to have come at the wrong time. Sorry for disturbing. As she spoke, Luo Chuchu quickly turned around and left. Su Wan also didn't hesitate to go out to call Su Rui's attending doctor. Why don't you chase after her? Su Rui's leg was still bleeding, but he acted as if nothing happened. He looked at the motionless Xiao Jingmo with ridicule. If you don't chase after her, your Cinderella will really run away. You called her to come. Xiao Jingmo finally recovered his reason and calmness. He finally understood that he fell into Fang Zimu's trap from the beginning. I called her to come. When Su Rui heard Xiao Jingmo's words, he straightforwardly admitted, Xiao Jingmo, since you're already together with Luo Chuchu, isn't it good for you two to live together? Although I don't know what Su Wan thinks, I clearly know my own heart. I know what I want. I also know that I love her. Since you already gave up on her once 8 years ago, then 8 years later, what qualifications do you have to interfere with my relationship with her? What qualifications? Xiao Jingmo's gaze gradually darkened. That's right. What qualifications does he have? The current him didn't even have the qualifications to beg Su Wan to forgive him. But do you really want to watch Su Wan be deceived by Fang Zimu, this swindler? He couldn't be indifferent like this. That was Su Wan, the fool who gave everything for him and had always loved him deeply. Fang Zimu. Finally, as if he had made up his mind, Xiao Jingmo stared deeply at the person on the bed. I will chase back Su Wan. I will not give her to you. Whether it was guilt or trying his best to save her, Xiao Jingmo could only think of this method at this moment. He believed that he could use this method to help Su Wan break away from Fang Zimu's gentle trap. By the time Su Wan called the doctor over to bandage Su Rui's wound again, Xiao Jingmo had already left. After wrapping up the wound and changing the medicine, the doctor and nurses also left. There were only Su Wan and Su Rui left in the ward. Su Wan quietly sat in front of the bed and calmly looked at Su Rui. Su Rui also didn't speak. The atmosphere between the two people was particularly strange, but strangely harmonious. Until the clock on the wall reached 9 o'clock in the evening, Su Wan stood up without saying a word. She wanted to leave. Xiao Jingmo said that he wants to chase back you. Su Rui suddenly spoke to Su Wan's back in a low voice. This kind of person, who gave him such blind confidence? Does he think that if he doesn't want it, he can just give it up. If he wants to find a substitute, he can find a substitute. If he wants to chase back, he can chase back. Does he think that this world revolves around him? Alright, even if he's the male lead favored by the laws of this world, so what? Even though Su Rui had watched no less than 100 TV dramas and novels so far, he was still unable to understand the emotional lives of those protagonists. He didn't think that this kind of man who found a substitute for love would be an infatuated person. If he was really infatuated, then he should always keep his chastity for his beloved woman. He didn't understand those love stories where they hurt each other, loathe each other, and in the end, abuse each other, and miraculously love should be pure love, without a trace of impurities. There shouldn't be any deceit or harm. Because the word love was really too fragile. Once there was a big scar between two people, then even if they could love each other for a moment, they were doomed to be unable to love each other for a lifetime. Broken mirror reuniting and whatnot, only a ghost would believe it. This kind of person, who gave him such blind confidence? Su Wan's ears were still reverberating with Su Rui's words just now. That's right, Xiao Jingmo, who gave you confidence? You think you're saving your own old lover? Then, where do you place Luo Chu Chu at this time? You think you're a saint of love by doing this? It's nothing more than hurting two women again, that's all. Su Wan's face was expressionless, a ruthless glint flashed past her eyes. It's time to end this world. She had already spent a lot of time here. In the end, what was she still looking forward to? Walking to the door of the ward, Su Wn slightly paused. Don't hurt Luo Chu Chu. Leaving behind these 6 words, Su Wan quickly opened the door and left. As you wish. Su Rui stared at the tightly closed door. A strange smile appeared in his dark eyes. He knew that he was already a little closer to the edge of Su Wan's heart. This world was like a breakthrough. Xiao Jingmo, Luo Chu Chu. He didn't know what was so special about these two people that they were worthy of Su Wan's gentle treatment. That's right, Su Wan didn't stay in this world for a long time, but her methods were too gentle. This wasn't like the legendary ruthless destroyer number 3. Why did she show mercy to Luo Chu Chu? Why did she use such a gentle method to give Xiao Jingmo a chance? Chapter 60. Luo Chu Chu and Xiao Jingmo broke up. This wasn't the first time the two people broke up, but this time, they didn't quarrel nor urge her to stay. Both of them were very calm, or it could be said that they were preoccupied. When Luo Chu Chu left Xiao Jingmo's private villa, she only brought a small suitcase. She thought that she could at least retain her last dignity at this time. How she came, how she left. She won't take away anything that belonged to Xiao Jingmo. But can she really leave like this? Even if she took the same luggage as when she moved in, even if she told herself over and over again that a good meeting would be a good parting. Luo Chu Chu still clearly knew that she was completely different from when she first moved into this villa. She lost her heart here, but she had to leave with a body full of scars. This was love. A substitute's love. It was already early autumn. On both sides of the road, yellowed leaves fluttered with the wind. Luo Chu Chu dragged her suitcase and quietly walked on the deserted long street. Far away, Su Wn sat in her car and looked at that woman's lonely and desolate figure. Su Wan's gaze was absent-minded for a moment and quickly returned to normal. She lowered her eyes and no longer looked at Luo Chu Chu's figure. When she raised her eyes again, Su Wan's gaze had already returned to its habitual indifference. Su Wn took out a small and exquisite woman's counterfeit phone and dialed a landline in the city. It's me. She deliberately lowered her voice. The time is ripe. You can make your move. Good. That's great. The voice on the other end of the phone seemed to be somewhat fierce. The one surnamed Xiao has done so many wicked things. He should also receive retribution. Su Wan responded in a low voice. You guys also have to be a bit careful. Regardless of whether it succeeds or not, I will transfer the rest of the money into your account as promised. It will be enough for your family to spend for a lifetime. After saying this, Su Wan hung up the phone. She removed the SIM card, folded it into a few pieces and threw it out of the window. Then she slowly started her car and left. The next day, it happened to be the weekend. Su Wan slept comfortably at home and finally went to the hospital out of habit. The morning sun was especially warm and brilliant. Through the transparent glass window, the brilliant warm sun shone on Su Rui's side profile. Su Wan stood at the door with rapt attention, as if she couldn't remember the first time she met Su Rui, his appearance. At that time, Su Rui was just a native of an insignificant mission world that she could use. This was like playing an online game. There were so many NPCs in the game settings. Who would pay special attention to one of them? The current Su Rui was undoubtedly much more real than before. Su Rui was originally concentrating on looking at the computer on the sickbed. After a good while, as if he felt Su Wan's gaze, Su Rui suddenly raised his head. In that instant, the originally ice-cold and gloomy gaze immediately melted like ice and snow and became especially gentle. "You came? Have you seen the morning news?" While speaking, Su Rui had already turned the laptop that was placed flat on the bed frame towards Su Wan's direction. This morning's Xiong City morning news was especially lively. Haoyue Group, as the pillar of Xiong City's enterprises, had always received much attention. And just today, in the various shopping malls under Haoyue's banner, there were incidents of threats that were suspected of retaliation. On the morning of the weekend, when the merchants and staff of the shopping malls went to work, they discovered that the entire shopping mall was hung with blood-stained banners. "Murderers must pay with their life. Unscrupulous profiteers." Similar banners fluttered in the air. The entire entrance and hall of the shopping mall were dyed red by unknown blood. The strong fishy smell made people flinch at the sight of it. Although Xiao family started off in the department store industry, a few years ago, when the real estate industry was just starting to rise, Xiao Laoyezi also saw the business opportunity and threw himself into the real estate industry. Because he always had a very close relationship with Xiong City's officials, Xiao Laoyezi easily obtained internal information and purchased a planned old city district at the cheapest price. At that time, it was very difficult to demolish the old city district. The nail-biters were also very difficult to deal with. Xiao Laoyezi had always been used to being the only one in the world and was even more unable to understand the kind of feelings the poor people had towards their homes. At that time, he only spent money to clear out some local tyrants and carried out a forced and profiteering demolition. In the end, it actually caused people's lives. These matters were all investigated by Su Wan after she returned to the country. She herself was born in a wealthy family and understood the despicable ways of merchants, especially Xiao Laoyezi's style. 8 years ago, in order to make Su Wan and Xiao Jingmo break up, he could force Xiao family into bankruptcy. Then, what else could he not do? As a result, under the investigation, Su Wan unexpectedly got to know the victims of the violent demolition that year. At that time, Xiao family used their connections to suppress private matters and only compensated the victims' families with a sum of money. Money was indeed a good thing, but money could not buy back dead relatives. These years, those victims had no way to seek justice. Seeing Xiao family becoming more and more powerful, they became more and more powerless. In fact, they had thought of using radical violence to seek justice for themselves, but these years, they had suffered too much injustice. They no longer believed that the law would uphold justice for the poor. They were even worried that their families would suffer from Xiao family's revenge in the future. As the saying goes, the poor don't fight with the rich. Even if they were to risk their lives, they couldn't implicate their children and grandchildren. Until Su Wan found them, Su Wan naturally appeared as a victim. After all, the matter of Su family's bankruptcy had also been reported in the newspapers. After Su Wan promised to properly settle their families and arrange for them to all go abroad, finally, there was someone who was willing to stand up and fight to the death with Xiao family. Now, it was already not 8 years ago. 8 years ago, or even more than 10 years ago, demolition deaths occurred from time to time. But in this year and age, this kind of thing was very serious. Su Rui on the sickbed saw that Su Wan was only staring at the news and did not say a word. He simply closed the computer and narrowed his eyes at Su Wan. "You did it?" Su Rui had never been able to learn such a roundabout method. He had always been very rough in business. Su Wan silently nodded. "I've long prepared it. So, Su Rui dragged out his words and looked at Su Wn with a profound gaze. In the end, what's so special about Xiao Jingmo, to make you put in so much effort? You clearly could have hit the nail on the head and never let him turn over a new leaf. Why did you drag it out for so long? Su Rui's tone was a bit complicated. He didn't want to admit that he was jealous. Hearing Su Rui's words, Su Wan became silent again. When she came out of the Ninth Nightmare's world, she didn't even look and chose a low-level mission world to enter. After entering, Su Wan discovered that the main storyline this time was actually a substitute lover. This was actually the storyline that Su Wan was most unwilling to face. In terms of finance and business, Su Wan had always been outstanding. In this world, with her talent, it was actually very easy to play Xiao family to death, but Su Wan didn't go straight to the main topic in the beginning. She first came into contact with Luo Chu, then Xiao Jingmo. She slowly integrated into Xiao Jingmo and Luo Chu's life. No one knew what Su Wan was looking forward to. This is my matter. Finally, Su Wan lazily raised her eyes and deeply looked at Su Rui. You should also play enough. Don't keep staying in the hospital and not leave. My time is also running out. Su Wan didn't stay in the ward for long. After leaving the hospital, she first called the European headquarters. As expected, everyone requested to stop cooperating with Xiao family. And according to the contents of the previous contract, the one who had a credibility problem now was Haoyue Group. They didn't need to pay any compensation for terminating the contract. In fact, not only EVFA, many big brands also planned to start withdrawing from Xiao family's shopping mall. And today, Haoyue Group's stock had already hit the limit. The Crusade army on the internet was even more majestic and noisy. Haoyue Group practically changed from a local pillar enterprise to an unscrupulous profiteer in everyone's mouth within a day. And with a person claiming to be a family member of a victim of the demolition case 10 years ago exposing a video on the internet, it pushed this incident to the climax. Chapter 61. At 9:30 in the evening, Xiao Jingmo walked to the reserved private room. Unsurprisingly, Su Wan had already arrived. She wore a white shirt and a light blue windbreaker was casually placed on the back of an empty chair. Seeing Xiao Jingmo's figure, Su Wan's eyes brightened and immediately turned her line of sight without leaving a trace. Jingmo, finished with your work? Xiao Jingmo's tone revealed exhaustion. Now, not only did Haoyue's stock plummet, each partner requested to terminate the contract. Even the bank also wanted to terminate the loan relationship with Haoyue in advance because of the credibility problem. Of course, what was even worse was the pressure from the government. The murder case of that year was brought up again and someone was pressuring them from behind. Now, Xiao Laoyezi had been invited to assist in the investigation. Although nothing would happen to his grandfather, this was undoubtedly one disaster after another for the current Haoyue. The business world was like this. The day before, you might still be high in the clouds. Today, you will fall into a quagmire and be consigned to eternal damnation. This is for you. Su Wan's words interrupted Xiao Jingmo's train of thought. He lowered his eyes and saw a check with 8 digits. This is all my savings in these few years. Su Wan's expression was especially solemn and serious. I can't help with anything on the headquarters side. This is the only thing I can do for you. Xiao Wan. Xiao Jingmo's gaze congealed and he raised his hand and tightly held Su Wan's hand. Today, Xiao Jingmo experienced the lowest point of his life. Not only those business partners, even his friends in Xiong City's circle began to throw stones at Xiao family when they were down. The only one who extended a helping hand to him was Su Wan. Perhaps, this was the so-called a friend in need is a friend indeed. Xiao Jingmo suddenly thought of Luo Chu. The two people also broke up. He thought that according to Luo Chu's kind and pure personality, she might appear at this time, but he didn't see Luo Chu. Xiao Jingmo's heart was somewhat strange and complicated. Whether it was his impoverished youth or now when he was at his lowest point, the one who accompanied him was Su Wan. Only Su Wan. Other people could only share his wealth with him. At this moment, Xiao Jingmo suddenly rejoiced. Rejoiced that he still had Su Wen by his side. Rejoiced that he lost and regained this love. Unknowingly, Xiao Jingmo's grip on Su Wan's hand became tighter and tighter. He held her as if he had the whole world. Su Wen just smiled gently and attentively looked at Xiao Jingmo. If Xiao Jingmo was attentive enough, he would have discovered that Su Wan's gentle eyes contained a dense coldness. In the past, the Xiao family still had people who could get through various joints of the connections, but now, they were not willing to take this risk. Xiao Jingmo Wan. In the past, Xiao family still had people on top who could get through all the joints, but now they weren't willing to take this risk. Coupled with Fang family and other forces hitting them when they were down at this time, it made the entire Haoyue group in a precarious situation. Haoyue's shares fell and fell. Although it had already stabilized at a price, that was also the result of someone behind the scenes purchasing a large sum of money. Xiao Jingmo had no way to take back the shares. Haoyue group had suffered a serious blow in all aspects. The liquid funds were completely insufficient, the bank loans were still constantly urging for payment, 8 out of 10 projects in hand had been stopped, and the company's employees' wages for this month had not yet been settled. Of company. Of WN now of 2 of company of WN to the of Jingmo from WN today, he. Winner takes all. That was all there was to it. From today onwards, Haoyue Group will change its surname to Fang. Politely shaking hands with Xiao Jingmo, Su Rui raised his eyebrows and whispered with a smile. Congratulations. Xiao Jingmo also smiled at Su Rui and took out 2 envelopes from his bosom. This is my resignation letter, and this. Xiao Jingmo took out a red envelope. The bright red color was particularly eye-catching. This is my and Su Wan's wedding invitation. Xiao Jingmo smiled as he watched Su Rui's face distort for a moment. He raised the invitation in his hand. When the time comes, please be sure to attend. After we get married, we will settle down abroad, and we may not have the chance to see you in the future. After saying this, Xiao Jingmo confidently turned around. He believed that even without the Xiao family, he still had the ability to make a comeback. Even if Fang Zimu won against Haoyue, so what? As long as he still had the ability, he could personally create one new Haoyue after another. As for Su Wan, there was only one in this world, and now, she belonged to him. Gazing at Xiao Jingmo's back as he turned and left, Su Rui firmly grasped the invitation in his hand. In the end, it actually turned into red powder. Marriage. Truly naive. Xiao family fell, Haoyue changed owners, but fortunately, Xiao Laoye's illness was stabilized. Knowing that Xiao Jingmo and Su Wan decided to get married and then emigrate with him, this made Xiao Laoye very happy. Now, they were not as good as before, but selling off all the fixed assets in their hands was also a considerable income. Xiao Jingmo did not want to leave any regrets. He spent a lot of money to book the best hotel in Xiong City and sent invitations to all the friends he knew. He wanted everyone to know that he, Xiao Jingmo, was not someone who could not afford to lose. Even if he, Xiao Jingmo, did not have Xiao family, did not have Haoyue, he still had the best fiancé in the world. At the same time, in EVFA's Huaxia headquarters, Su Wan also submitted her resignation letter and sent an invitation to Xu Jie and Chen Wei. At this time, the news of Xiao Jingmo wanting to marry Su Wan had already spread to every corner of Xiong City. Everyone was discussing whether Xiao Jingmo was frustrated in the business world but triumphant in love, not loving the country but loving a beauty. So when they just received the invitation, Xu Jie and Chen Wei's expressions were the same. The 2 people politely said congratulations and then inadvertently opened the invitation. After that, Xu Jie, it must be that the way I opened the invitation was wrong. Chen Wei, your mother, I knew it was like this. On the day of the wedding, Su Wan wore a pure white wedding dress and sat in the bride's resting room, letting the makeup artist next to her wipe her face here and there. She had been absent-mindedly looking at the mirror. The face in the mirror was not her original appearance. Looking at the woman in the mirror, Su Wan was like looking at a complete stranger. Creak. It was unknown when the resting room's door was pushed open from the outside. The person who came wore a pure black handmade suit, contrasting sharply with the white wedding dress on Su Wan's body. "It's almost time to hold the ceremony." The low and pure male voice faintly revealed an excited and joyful tone. "If I run away from the wedding now, is it too late?" Su Wan indifferently turned around and met Su Rui's bottomless black eyes. "What do you think?" Su Rui walked a few steps forward and walked behind Su Wan. He raised his arms and gently wrapped her in front of him. "Immediately, the entire Xiong City's people will know that you, Su Wan, are Fang Zimu's newly married wife." As he said this, the smile on Su Rui's lips became more and more intense. Right now, the entire hotel had been surrounded by the various media and TV stations that Su Rui had invited. Not only did he want the entire Xiong City to know that this woman was his wife, he also wanted Xiao Jingmo to become the laughingstock of the entire Xiong City. Looking at Su Rui's fox-like smile in the mirror, Su Wan did not open her mouth to refute anything. She actually made this decision early on the day of the wedding. She wanted Xiao Jingmo to truly taste the feeling of having nothing and living a life worse than death. At this time, in the hotel lobby, many guests were still whispering. In the same hotel, at the same time, even the same bride. The only two things that were different were the wedding lobby and the groom. When they received Fang family's invitation at the entrance of the hotel, they all felt that it was inconceivable, but most people still chose to go to the 5th floor of the hotel, which was Fang family's wedding venue. When the wedding ceremony officially began, looking at the newly married couple smiling sweetly on the red carpet, everyone couldn't help but keep quiet. There were countless flashes and shutters constantly interlacing. This would be the most grand and most topical wedding in Xiong City this year. Xiao Wan. When Xiao Jingmo stumbled to the wedding venue, Su Wan and Su Rui were exchanging wedding rings. Looking at the two people who stood together like a pair of jade, Xiao Jingmo's eyes reddened and his face carried an incredulous expression. "Xiao Wan, what's going on here? Is it Fang Zimu who threatened you?" Xiao family's wedding venue was downstairs and there were very few guests. An hour ago, Xiao Jingmo couldn't get through to Su Wan's cell phone. But because Su Wan had sent him a message, telling him not to worry and to wait patiently, Xiao Jingmo didn't feel that anything was wrong. Until the time of the wedding ceremony was getting closer and closer, some of the guests who came to the wedding banquet finally couldn't bear it and handed Fang family's invitation to Xiao Jingmo's hands. The moment Xiao Jingmo saw the invitation, his first feeling was that he didn't believe it, and the second thought was that Su Wan was threatened by Fang Zimu or was deceived by him. That was why he rushed over without a care in the world. The eyes of the media that were specially invited by Su Rui all shone as they looked at the latest development of the matter. They couldn't wait to rush forward and give Xiao Jingmo a character interview. "Xiao Jingmo, don't think too highly of yourself." Su Rui subconsciously opened his mouth when he heard Xiao Jingmo's words. He took a step forward and wanted to protect Su Wan behind him, but Su Wan lightly crossed Su Rui's body. Carrying the long wedding dress, she walked step by step to the front of Xiao Jingmo. "Xiao Jingmo, I voluntarily married Fang Zimu because I love him." "No, impossible." Xiao Jingmo looked at Su Wan in disbelief. He hurriedly raised his hand to grab Su Wan's wrist, but Su Wan quickly dodged it. "Why is it impossible? He could get hit by a car for me, he could die for me. What can you do for me? Force my father to go bankrupt and almost die in the hospital? Or when I was wholeheartedly thinking about you, you kissed me with other women? Xiao Jingmo, I hate you. Do you know that?" Su Wan took another step forward and stared intently at Xiao Jingmo's eyes. "At that time, I was young and ignorant, so I liked you. Now, I've already woken up. You, Xiao Jingmo. What do you have? Without Xiao family, you're nothing. You're not even as good as me, a woman. You can't compare to Fang Zimu in anything. Therefore, I love him. I originally don't love you." Su Wan and Su Rui's wedding was finally completed on time. Xiao Jingmo, who came to make a scene, finally left in a hurry because Xiao Laoyez's old illness relapsed. When he left, his entire face was distorted. Su Wan knew that Xiao Jingmo had always been proud and selfish. He could allow himself to find a substitute to appease his lonely body and mind, but he wouldn't allow others to do anything that would let him down. The news of the wedding was quickly reported in all major media. 3 days after Su Wan and Su Rui's wedding, Xiao Laoyez's old illness relapsed and he died in the hospital. And Xiao Jingmo took the remaining savings in his hands and disappeared from the sight of Xiong City's people. He wanted to take that money and go to a new city to stage a comeback. Wait until the day he returned to his hometown in glory, and then settle the accounts with Fang Zimu and Su Wan. After Xiao Jingmo disappeared, Fang family became the unrivaled overlord of Xiong City. Su Rui quickly arranged a new engagement for Fang Ziwen. Although Fang Ziwen couldn't let go of Xiao Jingmo, under Su Rui's supervision, Fang Ziwen had no choice but to gradually compromise. Su Wan was at ease as Fang family's nominal mistress. Every day, there would still be people who would report Xiao Jingmo's news to her on time. Although Xiao Jingmo, who was in a foreign land, had a startup capital, his current business wasn't easy to do. Moreover, he was an outsider. In the eyes of the local businesses, he was even more of an eyesore. In the past, he was an all-powerful person in the business world. But now, he had a body full of skills but couldn't get the opportunity that he should have. With great difficulty, Xiao Jingmo managed to build a connection in Yun City. He thought that he could gain a firm foothold and from then on, he could display his skills. Who knew that the whole thing was a trap that had long been set up. When Xiao Jingmo was swindled penniless and wandered on the streets, he remembered Luo Chu-Chu's kindness. In fact, Luo Chu-Chu was really a good girl. Just that, he didn't know where she was right now. Some people were always greedy and didn't know how to cherish it. Every time, they had to wait until they lost it. Only then would they remember it and regret it. The rarest thing in the world was a single-minded sincerity. Su Wan obtained Xiao Jingmo's latest situation. She tried to contact the headquarters and got an affirmative reply that the mission was completed. So, it was time to leave. Su Wan didn't bid farewell to Su Rui. After contacting the headquarters to confirm her exit from the mission world, Su Wan quietly left Fang family by herself. At night, Su Rui returned to his bedroom and faced an empty room. The two people's wedding photo was still hanging on the bedside. Su Rui stared blankly at the photo. From marriage until now, they had been living separately. He liked her and wanted to be with her, but he would never force her. Su Rui thought that he would marry Su Wan one day. That would be a real marriage in the lost timespace, with the real her, forever together. Lost timespace. Plane destroyer headquarters. Su Wan left the execution room and returned to her residence. She habitually opened her communicator to check the mission points. Seeing the pitifully few mission points, Su Wan frowned. She opened the mission file that she had just finished sorting out and her eyes stayed on the contents inside. Xiao Jingmo wandered the streets and was hit by a speeding truck and became a vegetable. Because his identity was unknown, he was finally sent to a local welfare sanatorium. And Luo Chu-Chu, who was working in that sanatorium at that time, reunited with Xiao Jingmo. As for why Luo Chu-Chu left Xiong City and appeared in Yun City, Su Wan continued to look down and found out that everything was Su Rui's doing. He promised himself that he would not hurt Luo Chu-Chu, but he made Luo Chu-Chu's family very miserable. And in order to take care of her family, in order to repay the huge debt owed by her family, Luo Chu-Chu and Su Rui signed a contract similar to a slave contract, and her main task was to take care of Xiao Jingmo in the sanatorium, who would never wake up again for a lifetime. So in this mission world, although she became Xiao Jingmo's cannon fodder, Su Rui still forcibly tied Luo Chu-Chu and Xiao Jingmo's lives together. And according to the rules of the lost timespace, both her and Su Rui's missions were successful. The mission points of the same world were divided into two, so it was naturally pitiful. Su Wan sighed, really unlucky. She unwillingly pressed the button a few more times. Su Wan saw the newly refreshed mission list and did not hesitate to accept another mission. At the same time, plane repairer headquarters. Su Rui walked out of the execution room with an indifference that kept people 1,000 miles away. Along the way, all the people in the same department subconsciously avoided Su Rui, who didn't know that this guy was the new S-rank dangerous newcomer. It was said that all the mission targets he accepted, without exception, all had miserable endings. This kind of dangerous person with the temperament of an ultimate boss, it was better for us mortals to stay away from him. Su Rui was completely unaware of everyone's rejection or fear. He strolled near the mission hall and saw Chi-Yu and Yun-Sheng arguing about something. Didn't CEGE warn you again and again? Why are you so inflexible? Yun-Sheng's voice carried a trace of exasperation. Everyone said that he and Chi-Yu were sworn enemies, but in Su Rui's view, these two people were very good friends. They were the kind of friends who competed with each other but could entrust their backs to each other. At this time, when Chi-Yu heard Yun-Sheng's words, he still disapproved. I've already spent the points and bought the location tracking device. Wouldn't it be a pity to give up now? At this time, the tracking device in Chi-Yu's hand suddenly lit up with a red light. Coming. She actually entered the mission world so quickly. The expression on Chi-Yu's face was somewhat excited. He checked his location tracking device while talking to himself. Su WN, this time I won't lose to you again. Let's, Chi-Yu hadn't finished speaking when he froze in place. His eyes widened as he watched his newly bought location tracking device being snatched away by another person. What kind of situation is this? Chi-Yu angrily raised his head and met Su Rui's sharp and deep gaze. I want this thing. I'll transfer the points to you in a while. Indifferently leaving behind a sentence, Su Rui already turned and left while Yun-Sheng and Chi-Yu were still in a daze. Chi-Yu, what does he mean? Do I lack those points? Yun-Sheng, you don't lack points, you're stupid. Chi-Yu, Yun-Sheng, stop. I promise I won't beat you to death. Su Rui, who quickly returned to his room, had already begun to search for the mission world that was similar to Su Wan's in his communication device. If it wasn't for Chi-Yu, Su Rui still wouldn't have known that he could use points to exchange for this kind of location tracking device in the headquarters shopping mall. This kind of location tracking device could only be used to track the current whereabouts of mission personnel from other departments. It was a one-time consumable item, but it was very useful. Holographic online game? When Su Rui found the mission world, he deeply wrinkled his brows for the first time. Chapter 62. In the lush forest, unknown wildflowers bloomed under the trees. Occasionally, there would be a cool breeze blowing, birds singing, and the fragrance of flowers. Su Wan opened her eyes and felt that she was sitting under a big tree. This tree was the same as the other trees in the forest. She couldn't name it, but it grew particularly lush. There was still a trace of sore and numb pain on her waist. Su Wan lowered her eyes and saw that the pure white robe was stained with a little bit of bright red. Is it blood? No, that's not right. There's no smell of blood. This is. Su Wan's thoughts moved and a transparent character panel immediately appeared in front of her ID. Su Cheng Wnu gender, female profession, priest level, 11 affiliated guild, none good and evil points. 867. This was the world of the world's first holographic online game launched by TX Company, Lingshan, and Su Wan was currently in the game. This game was the world's most technologically advanced online game. Through the game cabin, it could directly connect to a person's brainwaves. This was similar to when Su Wan was performing a task in the execution cabin. This game could connect to a person's soul and let this person's potential be fully displayed here. Looking at her character level, Su Wan was somewhat speechless. The novice level in this game world was level 10. She had now been killed to level 11. The misery of the situation could be seen from this. Immediately, Su Wan opened her equipment panel again as Huaxia's 4th district's most glorious violent priest. At this time, Su Wan was only wearing the most tattered novice priest uniform. Lingshan was a game that directly connected to a person's spiritual consciousness, so it didn't have the character attributes of ordinary online games such as wisdom, strength, and so on. When each player first logs into the game, the highly intelligent game system will automatically match your basic attributes according to your physical fitness. These attributes will affect your operating awareness, but will not affect the character's level and attack power. In Lingshan, the attack power of each character depended on the skills and equipment on their body. The higher the skills and the better the equipment, the higher the character's attack power, and these 2 points were all based on the character's level. It can be said that this was a world where the weak are prey to the strong. Because most of the game resources were monopolized by the big guilds, the survival space of ordinary casual players was very small. Su Wan let out a long breath and slowly stood up. At this time, the novice priest robe on her body was already full of dust and bloodstains. It was very obvious that just now, she had just escaped a new round of pursuit. This was really a case of a tiger being bullied by a dog. In this virtual world, all her previous advantages were gone. She was now facing a very bad situation. Su Wan was sighing inwardly. Suddenly, a sudden burst of cold wind hit her. Su Wan, who had keen senses, suddenly dodged and waved the priest's staff in her hand. She directly threw out a light bullet. The white ball of light hit the empty space in front of her. There was a ripple in the air and an assassin wearing a black leather armor appeared. At the same time, the number -80 floated above his head. "You actually dodged it." The assassin looked at Su Wan in surprise. He didn't think that she could dodge his backstab. Su Wan looked at the acquaintance in front of her without any pause. Light bullets were thrown at the other party's body as if they were free. 80, -80, -80, -80. The number of bright red words continuously floated above the assassin's head, but he was calm and unruffled in the midst of the chaos. It didn't hurt nor itch. This game Lingshan actually had a real sense of pain, but the highest was only 15% of the feeling in reality. The lowest could still be adjusted to 5%. It was very clear that the damage caused by Su Wan's attack to the other party was simply a drop in the bucket. There was no feeling at all. Su Wan was also speechless about the attack power of her novice light bullet. Taking advantage of the other party not making any movements, Su Wan once again threw out a light bullet. After that, she hurriedly used a novice speed increase on herself, wanting to escape without a trace. Right at this time, a huge ball of fire suddenly shrouded down from mid-air and directly fell on Su Wan's body. This was a fire mage's fire light spell. The blazing fire instantly enveloped Su Wan's entire body. 1888 instant kill. When Su Wan opened her eyes again, she was already at the novice village's resurrection point. Casually checking her current attributes, Su Wan's face immediately darkened. She was killed back to level 10 again. Level 10 was the novice level in Lingshan. Novice players at level 10 were not allowed to PK. They would not lose experience and could not be transported to other cities. Right now, it was already 3 months after the start of the game. There were still new people coming and going in the novice village, but it was already pitifully few. Su Wan walked on the rundown street of the novice village, thinking about the main storyline of this mission world. The main storyline of this world happened in Lingshan, this holographic online game. The male lead, Yi Tian, was a standard nouveau riche, tall, rich, and handsome. He loved online games since he was young. 5 years ago, he established Shitian Guild and he became the guild leader. His ID was Di Shitian. When Lingshan was in beta, all members of Shitian Guild participated in the beta test. After the open beta, Yi Tian led his own guild to enter Huaxia's 4 districts and became the overlord of the 4 districts. It was worth mentioning that Su Wan was not only the vice leader of Shitian Guild, but also Yi Tian's wife. In the world of online games, the ratio of men and women had always been unbalanced. And to be like Su Wan, who always played games, had good PK skills, and was also young and beautiful, it was really rare. So when she just joined Shitian Guild 5 years ago, Su Wan became the target of everyone's pursuit. And at the first offline gathering of the guild, Su Wan fell in love with the handsome Yi Tian at first sight. Later on, things happened very naturally. One was affectionate and one was interested. Soon, the two people became a couple in the game. In the following few years, every time the game was changed, Su Cheng Wnu and Di Shitian were the model couple in everyone's eyes. Until Lingshan's open beta, when the server just opened, all of Lingshan's systems were not all opened at once. This included the very popular marriage system. After the server opened, Su Wan was the same as before. She led the brothers of Shitian to level up at the fastest speed and occupied some of the main monster leveling points. Although Su Wan's identity was the vice leader, everyone privately called her the leader's wife. Su Wan also kept waiting for the marriage system to open and marry Yi Tian again in the game. But the direction of the plot this time was destined to disappoint Su Wan. Although Yi Tian's time in the game was less than Su Wan's, his level had always been the highest in the whole district. In the entire Huaxia's 4 districts, as long as Di Tian, this swordsman, appeared, the rest of the people would all retreat and flee. This kind of lonely feeling of an expert made Yi Tian feel very bored. And when he was extremely bored, he accidentally saw a level 10 smurf in a level 50 monster dense area. That smurf was called Hui Mao Yi Xiao. She wore a tattered beginner priest robe and had a neat ponytail. She looked like a very young and naive silly little girl. Hui Mao Yi Xiao was naturally the female protagonist of this mission world. She was a game noob and also had a poor sense of direction. She just left the beginner village, and because she couldn't automatically transfer to the main city, she had to run to the map. As a result, she didn't pay attention and ran to the wrong map. Fortunately, the monsters in this area were all passive attacks. But being surrounded by a large group of very terrifying tall red-letter monsters, it also made Hui Mao Yi Xiao feel goosebumps in her heart. And at this time, Hui Mao Yi Xiao saw Di Tian in the middle of the large group of monsters, wearing a set of glittering golden light. At first, this girl treated him as a big wild boss, watching and posing. Finally, when Di Tian opened his mouth to talk to her, Hui Mao Yi Xiao immediately became stupefied. Just like this, Yi Tian and Hui Mao Yi Xiao hooked up. No, it was a fated encounter. Then, there were all kinds of teasing and all kinds of help. Finally, our family's Shitian Guild's leader directly pulled Hui Mao Yi Xiao into the guild and opened up all kinds of privileges to her. Because Yi Xiao's entire person looked silly and adorable, seeing everyone and calling Big Brother, the other backbones in the guild liked her very much. Of course, Su Wan was an exception. A woman's intuition had always been accurate. Su Wan keenly felt Yi Tian's interest and specialness towards Hui Mao Yi Xiao. This made her feel very uncomfortable in her heart. Hui Mao Yi Xiao was a noob in the game. Not only did she not know anything, she also often caused trouble for the guild. Su Wan brought people to clean up her mess again and again, and after returning, she still had to appease the other people in the guild. And Yi Tian? No matter what Hui Mao Yi Xiao did, he felt that it was very pleasing to the eye and liked it very much. Sure enough, being favored is always the happiest. Later, Yi Tian went from bad to worse, openly showing affection to Hui Mao Yi Xiao in the guild. This made Su Wan lose a lot of face. She contacted Yi Tian in reality, hoping that he would give her an explanation. As a result, Yi Tian told her they used to get married in the game just for fun, it didn't count. He also never did anything intimate to her, so they were never a couple. That night, Su Wan stayed in the room alone and cried until midnight. She felt very uncomfortable. If Yi Tian didn't treat her as his girlfriend, then every time when people called her sister-in-law in offline gatherings, why didn't he explain? Everyone played late at night and stayed overnight in the hotel. They were arranged to be in the same room. Why did he tacitly agree? Even if nothing happened between them, this kind of thing had happened more than once. What would the other people in the guild think? In the past, there was even a person in Shitian Guild who had always been secretly in love with Su Wan and even confessed to her in private. As a result, because of Yi Tian's existence, Su Wan rejected him. That person also tore off all pretenses of cordiality with Yi Tian in the game. In the end, he left Shitian Guild and established himself from then on. Scenes from the past, Su Wan felt that she was deceived by Yi Tian. He used ambiguity as a net to stick to her and her heart, but in the next moment, he was showing his true love to another woman. Su Wan hated Yi Tian and hated Hui Mao Yi Xiao even more. Other people all said how innocent Yi Xiao Mai was, how adorably silly and cute. Su Wan only felt that Hui Mao Yi Xiao was very hypocritical. She clearly knew that Su Wan and Yi Tian were a publicly recognized couple. No one in the guild dared to be too close to Yi Tian in front of Su Wan, but Hui Mao Yi Xiao relied on the so-called adorably silly she called Tian Gij all day long, and her words were full of intimacy. Su Wan didn't like this kind of seemingly silly and sweet woman, but in fact, she actually did some things to break up other people and then had an innocent face. Thinking back to the beginning, she had set her sights on Yi Tian. No matter how outstanding and infatuated the other man was, she was unmoved. At that time, as long as Su Wan was willing to be a bit more ambiguous, or even slightly give that man a glimmer of hope, she wouldn't be reduced to this state right now, right? That's right, the man who had always been secretly in love with her was the current leader of the second largest guild in Huasha District 4, Wolf's Fang, Lone Wolf. After breaking off relations with Yi Tian that year, Lone Wolf founded the Wolf's Fang Guild and had been going against Shi Tian. In the countless fights between the two large guilds, Su Wan also put in a lot of effort. There was even one time, in a particularly important guild war, she also used a scheme to bring people to personally take care of Lone Wolf. This made Lone Wolf's love for her turn into hatred. From then on, the two people became enemies that wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Of course, Su Wan never regretted falling out with Lone Wolf and becoming enemies. But what made her most unbearable was that after she left Shi Tian, Lone Wolf also sent people to kill her. And the reason for killing her was actually also because of Hui Mao Yi Xiao. Su Wan only felt a mouthful of old blood welling up, wanting to vomit but unable to spit it out. This is life. The life of a cannon fodder and the female lead's life. There simply wasn't too much of a difference, okay? First chapter, 3,500 words. Because this is not a professional online game novel, so if there are any bugs in this volume, please ignore it. Chapter 63. After the original owner, Su Wan, was broken up, she went online the next day and left Shi Tian Guild and joined Huasha District 4's third guild, Xiaoyaro Pavilion. On that day, Su Wan brought a team of Xiaoyaro Pavilion's elite team to kill Hui Mao Yi Xiao, who had just risen to level 45 in the wild. This kind of situation where rival guilds killed each other was the most common in Lingshan and even in major PK online games. Su Wan just couldn't swallow that anger and must personally kill Hui Mao Yi Xiao to vent her anger. But what she didn't expect was that her action actually made Yi Tian truly fly into a rage for a beauty. On that night, Shi Tian Guild declared war on Xiaoyaro Pavilion. Xiaoyaro Pavilion's leader, Shi Li Hua Mai, was a female fire mage. She and Su Wan were also online friends who had known each other for many years. For the friendship between the two people, Shi Li Hua Mai did not compromise with Di Shi Tian. The final result was naturally being killed miserably by Shi Tian Guild and losing the guild stronghold that they had always occupied. Xiaoyaro Pavilion, who lost their stronghold, suddenly fell from the third place in the district to outside the top 10. Even so, Yi Tian still didn't vent his hatred. He said in the World Channel that as long as Su Cheng Wu was still in Xiaoyaro Pavilion, he would fight to the death with Xiaoyaro Pavilion for a day. A man who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance to this point, to put it nicely, was an overbearing CEO who took revenge for his little goblin. To put it bluntly, he was a narrow-minded bastard who only knew how to bully women. Regardless of whether Yi Tian liked Su Wan or not, at least Su Wan sincerely liked him for 5 years. For 5 years, she wholeheartedly did it for him and never did anything to let him down. He did this. Was he really a man of character? Shi Li Hua Mai had a fiery temper. Hearing Yi Tian's heroic words, this girl actually really planned to fight to the death with Yi Tian. And Su Wan didn't want to implicate Hua Mai, so she took the initiative to leave the guild. Su Wan, whose heart was broken by Yi Tian, wandered alone through the game map, leaving her and Yi Tian's footprints one after another in the Lover's Holy Land. When she passed by the Wishing Tree map, Su Wan saw Hui Mao Yi Xiao and Lone Wolf talking and laughing together. At this moment, new hatred and old hatred welled up in Su Wan's heart. She almost didn't think and used a big move, killing Hui Mao Yi Xiao again. After. Well, there was no after. At this time, Su Wan gloomily looked at the novice priest staff in her hand. She killed Hui Mao Yi Xiao twice. Yi Tian and Lone Wolf issued a kill order in the whole server. They were determined to kill her until she deleted her account and didn't play anymore. Lingshan, as the only holographic online game in the world, has now occupied 80% of the global online game industry. Almost everyone is playing Lingshan. Moreover, according to the rules of Lingshan, each legal citizen can only have one account. Once registered, unless you delete the account and never log in, otherwise, You can't change your profession and ID. You can't even create your own alternate account. When Su Wan entered the mission, it was already the 5th time the original Su Wan was killed back to the novice village. The first time she was killed to level 10, she dropped a lot of top-quality equipment. At that time, Su Wan was not reconciled. She leveled in the wild overnight. As a result, because she was too loyal to Yi Tian when she was in Shitian, she offended too many guilds and unaffiliated smurfs, causing her to automatically attract hatred wherever she went. Just like that, she resisted again and again and was killed back to the newbie village. In this virtual world, level is especially important. Without the corresponding level, you can't wear good equipment and can't use the corresponding high-level skills. The original Su Wan had the most powerful priest skills in the whole district, but at this time, she could only incomparably sullenly shrink in the novice village. If Su Wan didn't enter the mission at this time, perhaps the original Su Wan would be like the original plot, deleting the account and going offline at this time. After all, she was only cannon fodder number 1 with the title of Yi Tian's ex-girlfriend, and was also the number 1 cannon fodder love rival that the female lead, Hui Mao Yi Xiao, conquered. After this, Lingshan will be updated and a brand new boss instance will be opened. The competition between the major guilds will only enter a white-hot stage at this time, and after the instance competition, the system will open the cross-regional channel. The whole of Huaxia has a total of 8 regions. After the cross-regional channel is opened, the cross-regional battles of the 8 major war zones will also start. At that time, the real geniuses will come forth in large numbers. And in this game world where elites gather, Hui Mao Yi Xiao is like opening the invincible Mary Sue halo. Wherever she goes, the Mary Sue halo shines on the earth, automatically attracting the love and pursuit of various local tycoons. From then on, the battles of the 8 major war zones will simply become a battle for the female lead. Thinking about it makes one drunk. Su Wan didn't continue to think about the future plot. She inquired about the inventory in her warehouse at the novice village's warehouse manager. Her previous equipment was all gone, and her level also dropped to level 10. Fortunately, the life skills she learned before were still there, and her warehouse also had a large number of various ores and fabrics that she had never used before. Looking at her current possessions, Su Wan pondered for a while and simply closed her eyes to exit the game. Waking up from the game connection cabin, Su Wan discovered that it was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the real world. She went to the bedside and turned on her computer to inquire about Lingshan's official website. Sure enough, the official website had already released the latest news. After a week, the first large-scale system update after the open beta will be carried out. After that, a brand new boss instance will be launched. In this instance, not only will it produce the latest sets, but it will also produce several kinds of special equipment materials. And high-level materials and sets have always been the things that the major guilds must fight over, and it is also the foundation of the major guilds. Su Wan knows that after the system update, whether it is Yi Tian or Lone Wolf, they will be entangled in the new instance. At that time, they won't have time to care about her. This is her only chance to turn things around. Su Wan decided to grasp this opportunity. She wants to temporarily leave the game for a week, creating the illusion that she has already left the game, so that no one will continue to pay attention to her. And after a week, she will log in again and find someone to bring her to level. As for who that person is, Su Wan also has the best candidate. When Su Wan went offline to formulate a strategic goal, in a private villa in another city, Su Rui expressionlessly exited from the game connection cabin. Who can tell him, in the end, what the hell is the so-called ice mage? What he wants is a swordsman. Do you understand a swordsman? Young master. Seeing Su Wan's unkind complexion, the middle-aged housekeeper who has been guarding next to the connection cabin looked at him somewhat worriedly. Do you want to replenish some nutrient solution? Right now, the housekeeper uncle was deeply worried about his family's young master's body. With the young master's thin and weak physique, he could only choose the mage profession in Lingshan. Fortunately, the Sichu family lacked everything but money, so after spending a lot of money to build it, the young master's mage character Night Rain has already become Huaxia's 6 district's #1 ice mage. However, the young master still seems to be dissatisfied. He desperately trained and spent most of his time in the game every day. Now that the server has been open for only 3 months, the average level of everyone in the game is 50, and his family's young master's level is already 66, the first in the whole district. At this moment, hearing the housekeeper uncle's words, Su Wan just shook his head. He can feel his body full of energy. After all, in the lost time space, every mission enforcer can use the points to exchange for a golden finger to carry around in the mission world. This golden finger is not too thick, but it's better than nothing. Just like how Su Wan's cheat allowed her to use her real name in every world, Su Rui chose to use his original body in every world. This is also a useless choice for others, but for Su Wan, it's the biggest golden finger. The original Sichu Yi wholeheartedly wanted to be a knight assassin, but his body was weak and sickly, his spiritual power was weak, and the assassin profession also required superb sensitivity and reaction. Sichu Yi simply could not do it. As for warriors and swordsmen, a weak chicken young master who can't even lift a heavy sword, you better not have too much hope for him. Therefore, Sichu Yi chose a mage, which is the same as a priest, a long-range magic attack profession that doesn't require much physical strength. And now, everything is about to change with Su Wan's arrival. Su Wan lowered his eyes and thought of his character attributes in the gamer ID, Knight range ender, male profession, mage level, 66 affiliated guild, eternal knight good and evil value, 0. The previous Sichu Yi was not a belligerent. He only thought about raising his level, so in the 3 months since the server opened, he actually didn't kill a single person. Of course, this also stemmed from the fact that the other elders of the Eternal Knight Guild protected their noble and weak president too thoroughly. I'm going to rest, call me at 8 p.m. sharp. In his heart, he was still recalling the mission plot of this world. Thinking that he still had to wait at least a month before his character could cross over to another district, Su Wan's heart was a bit irritated. He knew that Su Wan was in the 4th district and her current situation was very bad. However, Su Wan believed that even if the situation was worse, Su Wan would definitely be able to pull through. Su Wan, you just wait for me. All the people who chased after you, I will kill them until they delete their accounts and don't play anymore. No, not only that, even if they go offline, I will also use the power of the Sichu family to make them unable to live in reality. Don't be afraid of a hoodlum with culture, just be afraid of a mage who knows martial art. The most violent mage in the history of Lingshan is about to be born, what is called a real humanoid big boss. Please look at our family's General Su. What is the thickest and biggest golden thigh in the entire server? Please look at our family's General Su. Su Wan, little darling, quickly come to my bowl, our family's General Su dotes on you tilde. Chapter 64. After leaving the game world for 3 days, Su Wan hadn't been idle these days. She first withdrew all her savings from the bank and opened an account at the exchange to start a short-term investment. After that, Su Wan resigned from her original job and then sent a job application letter to a game studio through an email. The rest of the free time, Su Wan used it all for leisure and relaxation. She didn't have many friends in reality. Because everyone was busy with work, they rarely came in contact. But her friend in the game, Shali Who Am I, saw that Su Wan had not been online. She finally couldn't help but call Su Wan and ask about her recent situation. Because the two people happened to be in the same city, Su Wan asked her to meet at a coffee shop. Shali Who Am I's name was Shu Hua. She was not tall like in the game, but she was particularly spirited. She was also very enthusiastic and righteous. Because the two people met in the game, they still habitually called each other's game ID. WNU, you won't really stop playing, right? After asking for a cup of Blue Mountain, Shu Hua looked at Su Wan across from her with some regret. She was also a fanatical online game enthusiast. In these years, the only game netizen who made her admire and took the initiative to make friends was only Su Wan. Although Shu Hua was not in Shitian Guild, they went through a lot of games together in the past few years. What Su Wan paid for Shitian, Shu Hua was very clear. Now that Yi Tian said that he didn't want her anymore. This made Shu Hua feel extremely angry from the bottom of her heart. Who am I? I won't quit. Su Wan unhurriedly drank a mouthful of coffee, then raised her eyes and looked at Shu Hua seriously. I just want to have a good rest these days. After the game updates next Tuesday, I will go online. Is that so? Hearing Su Wan's words, Shu Hua's eyes lit up. As the leader of a guild, Shu Hua was naturally very concerned about the new version of the game update. She knew that the new instance would make the major guilds spend a lot of energy. Almost in an instant, Shu Hua became aware of Su Wan's thoughts. WNU, you're smart to do this. How about this? After you go online, join Xiao Yarrow Pavilion and I'll bring you to level. No need. Su Wan indifferently rejected Shu Hua's good intentions. Who am I? Your guild has fallen behind a lot. You don't have to worry about me anymore. I've already found people to help me. They will help me level. Oh. Shu Hua froze for a moment because in the 4th district, not many people dared to offend Di Shitian and Du Lang so brazenly like her. Who was the person Su Wan was talking about? At this time, in the center of another city, in the Hurricane Online game studio, a cold-looking man was staring blankly at an email in his mailbox. This was a cover letter, a very special cover letter. The person who wrote the letter was the most popular figure in District 4, Su Cheng Wnu. The man was very familiar with this ID. In the past few years, he had a lot of dealings with Shitian Guild and Su Cheng Wnu was Shitian's former vice president. From dominating the entire Servers Guild's vice guild leader to the street rat that everyone in the game wanted to beat up. Don't say that Su Cheng Wnu was a woman, even if she was a big man, she's afraid that right now, she wouldn't have any lofty aspirations. But, the man moved his fingers and slid the mouse to the end of the cover letter. There was even a bank account number and an encrypted password symbol attached to it. After easily cracking the password, the man used his personal computer to log into that bank account. Seeing the balance inside, the man subconsciously narrowed his eyes. What a good Su Cheng Wnu are. After knowing her for so long, this was really the first time he had a whole new level of respect for her. A week's time passed. With the update of the new version, the game world once again ushered in the same kind of bustling scene as when the beta test was in full swing. After a week, Su Wan logged into the game again. She was still in the novice village. She went out of the village entrance with ease and went to the west side of the village to fight monsters. Rising from level 10 to 11 didn't require too much experience. After Su Wan used her beginner light bullet technique to kill dozens of cute little white rabbits, her whole body flashed with white light and her character leveled up. After leveling up, Su Wan didn't stay in the same place. She continued to go deep into the next map, Yongquan Plain. This was a leveling area around level 13. It was the most suitable place for Su Wan to level up now. This kind of novice leveling map already had very few people passing by. Su Wan fighting monsters from a distance was especially easy. In less than an hour, Su Wan rose to level 14. Level 15 was a checkpoint. To level up to level 15, she must go to the outskirts of Longcheng to fight level 15 monsters. Longcheng was currently the largest main city in Lingshan. Every character had the qualifications to enter the city after reaching level 15. After leaving their name card at the Longcheng courier station, they could use the city return scroll to teleport back to Longcheng from any place. Also, if you use a locator, you can also set your resurrection point at the center of Longcheng. Su Wan hesitated at the entrance of the map on the outskirts of Longcheng. In a flash, she entered the map entrance. When she opened her eyes again, what entered her eyes was no longer a plain, but a lush and verdant forest. Here was the place where she was killed last time. Remembering the memory of the original owner being killed every time she rose to level 15, Su Wan's expression became a bit more dignified. She carefully observed everything around her. Fortunately, at this time, most people were watching the excitement at the entrance of the new instance. Right now, there were only pure noobs fighting monsters in the outskirts of Longcheng, and those noobs were obviously not familiar with Su Cheng Wnu, this famous ID. It seems that she didn't wait in vain this week. Su Wan found a place with a lot of monsters and began to level alone. Fighting monsters and leveling was actually a very boring thing. Moreover, The tree demons and lantern monsters in the outskirts of Longcheng were simply far from those cute monsters in the novice village. Fortunately, Su Wan wasn't an ordinary girl. She didn't feel anything towards these sinister monsters. Instead, a young girl's panicked voice could be heard from time to time from a leveling team not far away. Ayaya, it's coming. So scary. Woo woo woo, this monster's death is really too unsightly. Su Wan heard that voice and just casually glanced at it. She saw that the 3 people in the novice team were all 15 or 16 years old students and understood. Although that girl's voice was a bit noisy, Su Wan didn't feel disgusted. Girls at this age should be this innocent and a little cute. Compared to Hui Mao Yi Xiao, that kind of person who was clearly in her 20s but still had a childish face, there was really a big difference. The world is so chaotic, who are you pretending to be pure for? Why is there a red circle under its feet? It was still that crisp female voice. This time, her tone was full of amazement. This is called a small boss in the wild. The teammate on the side quickly answered her doubts. Su Wan's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of their conversation. She came back to her senses and sure enough, she saw a tree demon boss stepping on a circle of light being surrounded by those 3 newcomers. It was clearly their first time encountering a boss in the wild. The 3 people were flustered. Because their levels weren't high and the equipment on their bodies wasn't good, the warrior captain in the team was quickly hit by the boss to half of his HP. Xiao Wu, quickly heal your brother Ah. The male mage called Binghua Walker surrounded the boss and desperately released small ice arrows from a distance while reminding the female priest on the side. The target of his words was precisely the girl who just spoke the most. Her ID was Wu Baobao. Hearing Binghua Walker's words, Wu Baobao hurriedly waved her priest staff. She was just about to release a skill when that tree demon boss suddenly extended countless branches and released a group attack. My HP dropped. Wu Baobao was scared badly. She retreated a few steps in a panic. Seeing that her HP had dropped, she immediately subconsciously added HP to herself. And at this time, the warrior on the side only had a trace of HP left. If the warrior, this MT, fell, then the other 2 people could really directly commit suicide and return to the city. It was at this time that the warrior's body was suddenly bathed in a layer of faint fluorescent light, then a series of numbers floated above his head, +100 +100 +100. Priest's healing skill. Wu Baobao and Binghua Walker subconsciously turned their heads and saw a young woman wearing a priest robe standing behind them with indifferent brows. Don't look at me, continue to fight monsters. Oh. Binghua Walker immediately turned around and continued to fight monsters, while Wu Baobao's eyes sparkled as she stared at the ID on top of this priest's head that suddenly appeared. Su Cheng Wu. Wu Baobao felt that she couldn't calm down anymore. It's Su Cheng Wu. It's really Su Cheng Wu. Idol Daran. I finally saw a living one today. Chapter 65. With Su Wan's participation, the original 3-person team's process of fighting the boss became very smooth. When the tree demon boss was ground to the last trace of HP, a dialogue suddenly popped up in front of Su Wan. Windless invited you to join his team, do you want to join? Windless was that warrior's ID. He had never said a word. He was clearly a young and tender youth, but he was surprisingly calm. Berserker, Windless. Information about this person flashed through Su Wan's mind. In the original plot, Windless had also made great contributions to the entire Huaxia region on the battlefield. He was a very powerful berserker. Only, in the original plot, he always acted alone and did not join any guild, nor did he join any studio or team. This kind of person was worth making friends with. Su Wan clicked yes. After Su Wan joined the team, that small wild boss's HP was also empty. Its huge body fell to the ground, splashing up a cloud of dust. Then, the ground was covered with spoils of war. In addition to the most common silver coins and medicine, there were also 3 pieces of equipment: a level 15 assassin's blue armor, a level 18 blue warrior's shield, and the last piece was a mage's gauntlet. It was actually a high-quality purple equipment. This kind of drop rate was already quite good. Su Wan felt that their team's character was still quite good. Wow. Purple equipment. Binghua Walker, who was at the side, didn't care and immediately picked up the purple equipment and put it into his bag. Because the lowest level of purple equipment was level 20, he, who had just reached level 15, simply couldn't wear it. Windlass seemed to have already gotten used to his casual attitude. He turned around and picked up the warrior's shield and then looked at Su Wan. You can't use any of these equipment. I'll take them all and give you the equivalent gold coins, how about it? In Lingshan world, 1,000 silver coins were equal to 1 gold coin. Now, the gold coins in the game and the currency in the real world were exchanged for 10 gold coins equal to 1 yuan. In the future, along with the gradual improvement of the game system, the entire Lingshan world will truly become humanity's second world. The gold coins here are not only more valuable than the currency in the real world, even the real estate and shops in Lingshan world will be more popular and expensive than the real world. When Su Wan heard Windlass's words, she just smiled. She could also see that Windlass should also be a RMB player. Otherwise, in the increasingly difficult environment in the future, it would be impossible for him to survive alone. I don't lack money, and I didn't do much today. Let's just be friends. Saying this, Su Wan sent friend requests to the 3 of them. Once they were all confirmed, Su Wan left the team without hesitation. Idle. At this time, Wu Baobao, who seemed to have been in a daze, finally came back to her senses and loudly called out to Su Wan, "Idle, why are you only level 15? In fact, Wu Baobao had been in a daze ever since Su Wan joined the team. Because she saw Su Wan's level in the team column, this made Wu Baobao completely unable to believe it. In her mind, her idol should be the best priest in the whole server. Even if he wasn't level 60, he should be at least level 55. What the hell was level 15? Su Wan's footsteps didn't stop. It's nothing. I just got killed by an enemy and dropped a level. Lightly leaving behind these words, Su Wan left without turning her head back. This time, I owe you a favor. In the friends column, Wu Feng silently sent a sentence. Su Wan glanced at it and closed the dialogue box. She wasn't a person who liked to do good deeds. Today, she helped them and indeed wanted that Wu Feng to owe her a favor. Looking at Su Wan's departing figure, the 3 people stared blankly for a good while. After a long while, Hu Binqing suddenly shouted, "Aya, I remember. Didn't I say yesterday that I have a classmate's older brother in Shitian Guild who can recommend us to join the guild? I seem to have heard him say that Shitian Guild recently had a big change. Could it be related to Su Cheng Wanu? You guys wait, I'll go ask him." Immediately, Hu Binqing opened a certain profile picture in his friends column and carried out a message chat with him. A moment later, Hu Binqing's expression became very strange. "Cousin brother, Xiao Wu, that classmate's older brother said that Su Cheng Wnu already withdrew from Shitian Guild. Also, recently, Di Shitian and Du Lang issued a wanted order to kill her. All the people who received the wanted order only need to kill Su Cheng Wnu by 1 level and they can automatically receive the bounty on the wanted order. Di Shitian, Du Lang? Aren't those 2 people sworn enemies?" Actually, according to Wu Feng's personality, he didn't like to be restrained and didn't plan to join any guild. It's just that his younger sister liked Su Cheng Wnu very much. This time, he brought his younger sister and his cousin into the game together. Originally, he planned to join Shitian Guild according to his younger sister's wish. He didn't expect that such a thing would actually happen in Shitian. Along with Hu Binqing's narration, Wu Baobao also knew about Su Cheng Wnu, Di Shitian, Hui Mao Yi Xiao and Du Lang's complicated 4-corner relationship. Understanding the general situation, Wu Baobao immediately waved the priest's staff in her hand. "Too much bullying. A group of sluts. To actually dare to bully my idol Daran like that. Gidge, you're the best. You must help my idol Daran take revenge." Take revenge? Find the level 65 Di Shitian? Or find the level 64 Du Lang? Or find the level 55 Hui Mao Yi Xiao? Right now, Wu Baobao seemed to have forgotten that her big brother was also only level 15. Let's make the best use of our time to level up. I will return the favor I owe her. After Su Wn left, she didn't know that those 3 people had already automatically regarded themselves as people in Su Wan's camp. Right now, Su Wan's experience was 80% of level 15. She wanted to wait until level 16 to enter Dragon City and see the situation. Right at this time, a familiar cold wind suddenly attacked from behind, backstab skill. There's an assassin. Su Wan's whole body tensed up. Even if she was wearing a long priest's robe, she still nimbly dodged. The ice-cold hidden weapon brushed against the corner of her clothes. Even if it was just a little bit, it still hit Su Wan's 999 horsepower. Right now, her character's HP was suddenly reduced by half. Su Wan nimbly threw a primary healing skill on herself, and a second later, a fluorescent light bathed Su Wan's whole body from top to bottom. Advanced healing skill. A woman wearing a pure white priest's robe slowly walked out from behind a tree at the side. That noble and elegant robe fluttered without any wind. Lemon is not sour, level 60 priest. Su Wan recognized the female priest in front of her. She was wearing a priest's robe called Light of Faith. Currently, there was only one such robe in the entire region. Su Wan had once brought Shutian's people to grind the instance for 3 days and 3 nights. Unfortunately, after she was chased by Di Shutian and Lone Wolf, this equipment dropped. She didn't expect that it would actually appear on Lemon is not sour's body. Long time no see. Lemon is not sour was a woman who wasn't too beautiful. Her body carried a kind of indifference that pushed people 1,000 miles away. Right now, her tone was also indifferent and her ordinary face didn't have much expression. Supreme Zun, your wife has always been this expressionless. What do you think? Su Wan just smiled at Lemon is not sour. Then she turned around and looked at the assassin who had just appeared behind her. Supreme Zun, Huaxia's 4th district's #1 assassin. He was currently wearing the current top-notch assassin's outfit, Knight. The weapon that just attacked Su Wan was Supreme Zun's special hidden weapon, Knight's Breath. Hearing the ridicule in Su Wan's tone, Supreme Zun just slightly raised his eyes. I haven't seen you for a period of time and you've actually learned to be humorous. It seems that after leaving Di Shutian that guy, your IQ has also recovered a lot. Su Wan declined to comment, but her gaze was firmly fixed on Ji Zun's grave and stern face. Supreme Zun raised his eyebrows at Su Wan and directly threw her a team request. When Su Wan entered the team, she then discovered that there were 2 other people in the team, Horizontal Blade Horse, level 62 warrior. 0 degree combustion, level 63 mage. Right now, the other 2 people were not on the same map as them. The 2 people's avatars were grey, but in the team panel, they could still be used to chat with them. Horizontal Blade Horse, welcome to the Hurricane team. 0 degree combustion, Goddess WNU, please take care of me. Lemon is not sour, quiet. 0 degree combustion, woo woo woo, sister-in-law is so fierce, I'm so scared. Goddess WNU, please take care of me. Su Cheng WNU. Chapter 66. In the world of Lingshan, in addition to the various large guild organizations, there were also a lot of private teams and online game studios mixed in. However, most of the studios were based on the premise of profit. Snatching bosses, using underhanded methods, killing people and stealing goods, this kind of thing was a common occurrence for them. And it's not like they haven't done this kind of thing before. However, in the world of Lingshan, when the online game changed from virtual to infinitely close to reality, many studios struggled in this world and didn't dare to be presumptuous easily. After all, no matter how many bad things you did in the past, no one knew who you were. Even if you were a man or a woman, there was no way to verify. But here, everyone showed their true face and couldn't set up a Smurf and change their ID. If a person's reputation was bad, he really couldn't mingle in this world anymore. However, there were exceptions to everything. Among the numerous online game studios, there was such an exception. They were the Hurricane Studio. Rather than saying that they were a studio, it would be better to say that they were a small team. The captain of this small team was Supreme Zun and the team members were Lemon Not Sour, Horizontal Blade Horse and 0 Degree Burning. Their studio was famous for killing people and stealing goods in various major games. Now that they came to Lingshan, the 4 people still didn't know how to restrain themselves. Those scattered people who trained alone and some members of small guilds loved and hated this studio that often snatched people's bosses and exploded people's equipment. What they hated was that their shameless behavior was monstrous. What they loved was that today, when all the large guilds occupied all the high-level training points, only Hurricane Studio could survive in the cracks. As long as you have money, they can bring you to level up and bring you to fly. Soaring to level 30 in a day is not a dream. At that time, Su Wan also valued this point, so she decided to join the Hurricane Studio and cooperate with Supreme Zun. Now in this kind of situation, only the people from Hurricane Studio had the ability to bring her to restore her level in a short period of time. As long as she restored to level 45, she could use the resurrection technique and wear high-level equipment. Su Wan would no longer be afraid of those people who chased after her. Of course, when the original Su Wan was chased before, it wasn't that she didn't think of hiring a studio to help her level up, but at that time, she was in the limelight and no one dared to help her. Moreover, ordinary workshops were no match for these 2 guilds. In this district, the only workshop that did not fear the 2 guilds was the Hurricane Workshop. Although there were few people in Hurricane, each and every one of them was an elite. The 4 of them were all famous figures in their region's rankings, and their boss, Supreme Ji, was also the region's top assassin. This kind of assassin who could stealthily assassinate people, and there was also a high-level priest by his side to assist him at any time. The combination of these 2 people could be said to be flawless. Even if they were to go against the region's #1 fighter, Di Shitian, they would also have the strength to fight. As for the people from other guilds, because they were afraid of Supreme Ji's assassination, they would try to get along with the Hurricane Studio as much as possible. Of course, this didn't mean that Hurricane Workshop was invincible. It was just that the guild leaders of large guilds had too many things to deal with every day. Nobody could invest all of their time and energy into a small workshop, right? Regarding this, the Supreme Emperor was still very self-aware, so when he first received Su Wan's job application letter and saw the request in the letter, the Supreme Emperor instinctively wanted to refuse, but when he saw the additional cost of bringing her to level up, the Supreme Emperor's heart was moved. He checked the deposit in that bank card. The huge number inside made him tremble with fear. At that time, he knew that this time, Su Wan really put down her hard-earned capital. Only an idiot wouldn't earn money. So now, Supreme Ji took the initiative to invite Su Wan to join the team. It could be considered as agreeing to her request. From this moment on, she was a member of the Hurricane Workshop. And in the following week, all the members of the Hurricane Workshop only had one task, which was to bring Su Wan to level up. With the help of Supreme Ji and the other 3 people, Su Wan's path to level up became very smooth. At this time, the new instance had just opened. The guild leaders of the large guilds in the whole region were actively organizing people to explore the way in the instance. Even if someone discovered Su Wan's figure, no one had the leisure to go and kill her. And at this time, Di Shitian and Hui Mao Yixiao were in the period of warming up. He had long thrown Su Wan to the back of his mind. Shitian Guild's new vice-guild leader, Elder Dawn Wind Waning Moon, originally couldn't bear to see Su Wan being hunted down. So, the matter of her returning to the game was suppressed by Elder Dawn Wind Waning Moon. Di Shitian didn't know. In the blink of an eye, it was the weekend again. Right now, Su Wan's level had already risen to level 45. This was the benefit of entering the game later. When the game just opened, there were fewer monsters and more people. Everyone leveled up and explored at the same time. Several people snatched a monster and stumbled their way to level 30. But now, there was a high-level team that brought her to the densely packed monster areas to level up. The experience gained was like flowing water and she could rush to level 30 in almost a day. Of course, after reaching level 45, Su Wan's leveling speed also slowed down. She calculated the ratio of the experience gained by several people right now. If she wanted to rise back to level 50 in the shortest time possible, there was only one way: to solo the level 45 instance, Millennium Realm. Millennium Realm was currently a relatively mid-range small instance in the game. The normal arrangement was for a small team of 5 people. Of course, There were also people with good operation and top-notch equipment who formed a team of 2 or 1 person solo. These few days, Su Wan used her forging skills to create a set of level 40 priest equipment for herself. Her whole body added 8. In the same level, it was already considered pretty good equipment. Moreover, many of the rare skills that she had previously obtained could now be used. For example, resurrection, defense, and enfeeblement. These were all relatively practical skills. Especially enfeeblement, it often had a role that could not be ignored when dealing with bosses. After telling Ji Zun her thoughts, Su Wan used the teleportation formation to directly teleport to the entrance of the Millennium Realm instance. At this time, most of the ordinary players were still around level 50, so the entrance of the Millennium Realm instance was very lively. Su Wan unhurriedly walked into the crowd. At first, she did not attract the attention of others, but before she could walk in front of the instance NPC, she met a familiar figure head-on: White Wolf, level 60 assassin, Wolf's Fang Guild's elder. This assassin with a pale face and a somewhat malicious smile was the assassin who chased after Su Wan when she first entered the task world. Su Cheng Wanu. At this time, White Wolf naturally also saw Su Wan's figure. He slightly froze and subconsciously threw an identification talisman on Su Wan's body air ID. Su Cheng Wnu gender, female profession, priest level, 45 affiliated guild, none good and evil value, minus 798 inches this game. The good and evil value is calculated according to the number of people you kill. Every time you kill a person, you lose 1 point. Like this, every point of evil value needs to be online for 1 hour to be eliminated. Su Wan was often online recently. She had not killed people for a long time, so her good and evil value was gradually decreasing. Even so, there was still more than 700 evil value. It can be seen that when she was originally in Shitian Guild, how many people she killed like flies. You seem to be living quite leisurely recently. White Wolf slightly licked his lips and looked at Su Wan maliciously. Just now, he called out her name and his voice was very loud, so much so that the eyes of everyone nearby fell on Su Wan. Facing White Wolf's provocation and other people's gloating expressions, Su Wan's gaze sank. A good dog doesn't block the way. Su Cheng Wnu. White Wolf was enraged by Su Wan's words and raised his arm to block her path again. Are you courting death? Believe it or not, I'll immediately call all the people here to whiten you to level 10. You Wolf's Fang people only know how to bully the few with numbers, and you especially like to bully women, right? As she spoke, Su Wan disdainfully looked at White Wolf in front of her. Do you dare to go 1v1 with me in the arena? Fight if you're not convinced. This was Su Wan's principle of life. Why wouldn't I dare? White Wolf, this person, was still conceited. Hearing Su Wan's words, he immediately opened a room in the arena and directly threw an invitation to Su Wan. If you can beat me, I won't find trouble with you in the future. Ah. Hearing White Wolf's words, Su Wan just smiled. She immediately clicked confirm and the figures of the 2 people were directly transmitted into the arena's room. Lingshan's arena was a place where everyone competed and learned from each other. The people who were defeated here would not lose experience, and the people who won would not increase their evil value because of killing people. Seeing that the 2 people really entered the arena, the rest of the onlookers were also unwilling to fall behind. Almost by prior agreement, they all rushed into the arena to watch. Chapter 67. The competition room that White Wolf chose was the simplest arena room. It was square and had nowhere to hide. This kind of room was actually not conducive for assassins to PK, but in White Wolf's view, he had a 15-level suppression and his equipment was also much better than Su Wan's. Even if Su Wan was a priest and had a healing skill, it was still very easy to kill her with his own attack power. When the countdown ended, White Wolf immediately activated stealth, but to his surprise, Su Wan also threw out a light bullet at the first moment. This was the only attack skill that a low-level priest currently had. It wasn't very powerful, but it almost didn't have any cooldown time. Moreover, the skill was also the fastest to launch. Therefore, Su Wan seized the initiative from the start. Her light bullet interrupted White Wolf's stealth. And the battle-hardened White Wolf did not panic when he saw that his stealth was interrupted. The poisoned blood dome sly blade drew a dark green color and headed straight for Su Wn Assassin's high-level skill, Bleak Blade. Once hit, in addition to the most basic physical damage, the target will be marked and continue to be poisoned and lose health for the next 10 seconds. The assassin's sensitivity had always been the highest among the 5 professions, and White Wolf's physical fitness was also much better than ordinary people. Su Wan only saw a trace of a dark green afterimage, and in the next moment, White Wolf's figure was already in front of her. Su Wan also instant cast a light bullet technique. Taking advantage of the time when the White Wolf was dazzled by the white light, she quickly retreated. While retreating, she used the deceleration technique. 3 seconds later, the White Wolf once again rushed in front of Su Wan, and the deceleration technique was also activated. The White Wolf's movements immediately became sluggish, and Su Wan took advantage of this opportunity to directly use the weakening technique on the White Wolf's body. Taking advantage of the fact that he was hit by the weakening technique, Su Wan continuously used the light bullet technique, 200, 200, 200. As the level increased, the damage of the light bullet also increased. In a few seconds, White Wolf had already lost 1,000 health points, and he still had more than 4,700 health point. Right now, White Wolf's face was even paler. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Su Wan continuously lost more than 1,000 drops of health points. This was an unprecedented humiliation for him. Enraged, White Wolf immediately activated the assassin's signature skill, Snipe. Once hit by this skill, the target would be immobilized for 5 seconds. This time, the attack launched by the White Wolf was fast, accurate and ruthless, leaving no time for Su Wan to dodge. And the moment the White Wolf attacked, Su Wan only had time to cast a light shield technique for herself. This was one of the life-saving skills of a priest. The light shield that was cast could absorb a certain proportion of the damage for the caster and was immune to the instant death effect. White Wolf's attack hit. Seeing that Su Wan was stunned in place, White Wolf's face revealed a sinister smile. In the next 5 seconds, he used all his attack skills on Su Wan's body. 720, -680, -900. As a level 45 priest, Su Wan's health was only 3,000 points. She was continuously attacked by the White Wolf for 5 seconds. She relied on the light shield's instant death immunity and finally only had 270 points of health left. Let's end this. White Wolf slid and almost rushed in front of Su Wan. The two people's bodies were infinitely close. Right now, the cooldown time of White Wolf's attack skills had not passed, but he was sure that he could use physical attacks to end Su Wan's little life. But at this time, Su Wan suddenly leaned forward and White Wolf's wrist just happened to rub against Su Wan's chest. In that instant, it was as if White Wolf was cast with a body-fixing technique. His entire person was fixed in place and the blood dome sly blade in his hand was only a few millimeters away from Su Wan's body. The entire competition room was in an uproar. Most people widened their eyes, looking at the current situation in confusion. Could it be that Su Wan obtained a new priest skill? It doesn't look like it. Of course, it wasn't that everyone didn't understand what happened. Some male players expressed, cough cough, encountering this kind of thing, we can only understand it but not explain it in words. Right now, White Wolf's body was stiff, the expression on his face was as if he was struck by lightning. In his mind, a certain mechanical system voice still carried an ice-cold lingering sound. Player White Wolf maliciously touched a female player's body. The system gave a level 3 warning. Because Lingshan was a simulated holographic online game, in order to protect the relatively weak female players, this hidden system of beware of lecherous pig hands was specially added. Once a male player touched a female player's private parts, he would immediately be warned by the system and his whole body would be paralyzed for 5 seconds. Of course, this was the lightest punishment. If it was a second offense, the punishment would be doubled. If someone maliciously violated others, the most serious person would be blacklisted by the system and would not be able to enter the world of Lingshan in this lifetime. Regarding this hidden system, most people didn't know about it and there was no introduction in the official website. But with the increase in the number of people in the game in the future, This system would no longer be a secret. Also, after the system update, there would be other systems that would be more humane to protect the player's privacy. Taking advantage of the time when White Wolf was paralyzed, Su Wan continuously cast a few healing spells on herself. After that, she immediately aimed at White Wolf and threw a light bullet once again at 200, 200, 200, 200. Seeing that Su Wan's HP had recovered by more than half, but he had lost another 1000 HP, White Wolf also wanted to cry but had no tears. Priest. This profession really made people feel vexed. When peeking in the arena, other professions couldn't use props to recover HP, but priests could recover HP to save themselves. Checking the CD of his attack skills, the instant his skills recovered, White Wolf rushed towards Su Wan again. The two people fought for several minutes. Su Wan recovered her HP as soon as she was free, and because her movements were particularly clever, her perception was also particularly keen. It caused White Wolf's surprise attacks to fail several times. When the 5-minute countdown in the arena ended, both people were still alive. So the system automatically judged Su Wan's victory according to the remaining HP of the two people. When the two people were sent back to the entrance of the Millennium Realm instance, White Wolf looked at Su Wan with a fierce face. "You cheated. Do it again. A man should be able to afford to lose, unless you admit that you're not a man." Su Wan raised her eyebrows at White Wolf and her body leaned towards White Wolf. This time, White Wolf seemed to be frightened and immediately dodged to the side. Seeing that he was no longer blocking her path, Su Wan quickly walked to the NPC's side and took out the props to open the instance. Her figure flashed and the next moment, her whole person had already appeared in the instance. Damn it! White Wolf, who was thrown outside, fiercely looked at the instance's entrance and finally simply found a place to sit down. He wanted to stay here and wait for the rabbit. He didn't believe that Su Wan you could always stay in the instance and not come out. At the same time, the video of White Wolf and Su Wan's PK in the arena was recorded by someone and uploaded to Lingshan's official forum. Su Wan, who had disappeared for many days, returned to the 4th district and PK White Wolf did not fall into a disadvantageous position. Just this title alone had already attracted a lot of people's attention. And among the large number of onlookers who carefully watched the match, someone quickly discovered that White Wolf's momentary abnormality. Afterwards, there were players who logged in anonymously to popularize science to everyone. What was the beware of salty pig hand system? After that player who did a good deed without leaving his name popularized the science, the entire post building began to tilt in a strange direction. Onlooker A. White Wolf actually dared to touch my goddess's chess. What a lunatic. I only want to say 4 words to him. Put me down. Onlooker B. Upstairs +1 onlooker C. Upstairs +10086 onlooker D. A group of pervert. What's so good about Su Wan? Great God White Wolf, I want to give birth to monkeys for you. Onlooker E. Lingshan World, Huaxia's 6th district. These few days, the new instance was opened. The entire Eternal Night Guild's backbone was busy exploring the instance, but Su Rui had been hiding in the level 70 leveling area alone to level up. Now, he could already cast ice spells very skillfully and easily. In a corner where no one noticed, Su Rui tried to combine his Qigong with the skills in the game. The experimental results were pretty good. After fighting monsters for a small day and seeing that his experience bar was about to fill up, Su Rui was satisfied and took out a return scroll to return to the Eternal Night Guild's encampment. Guild leader. Boss. Seeing Su Rui wearing a blue mage robe and leisurely walking through the door, that huge first in the district title really blinded people's eyes. Ice-cold Little Hands, who was in charge of managing the guild's logistics warehouse, giggled and greeted Su Rui. Seeing that Su Rui still had an expressionless face, he was not angry. Instead, he immediately started typing in the guild chat group, Ice-cold Little Hands, guild leader is back. There's an iceberg guild leader releasing cold air all the time, making people feel that this summer is really great. Cloud Poet, Little Hands. You're a man, is it really good to be so love-struck? Delicate and pretty beauty. Although Lunjio is a fujoshi, Lunjio will not support you secretly falling in love with Leader Daran. Leader Daran is so cold and aloof, you mortals better not talk nonsense. Ice cold little hands. I was wrong, I'm guilty. I just simply want to become a man like the guild leader, that's all. Delicate and pretty beauty, you definitely don't have any hope in this life. In your next life, first reincarnate into a good body. Ice cold little hands, delicate and pretty, even if we're separated by 1,000 mountains and 10,000 rivers, I can still feel the dense malice coming from your heart. Delicate and pretty beauty, little hands is obedient, big sister has already teleported back to the city. I can immediately observe Leader Darren up close. Roar roar roar. Awe-inspiring evil. You guys are really noisy. Be quiet for me. Melancholy sheep. Linran Gidge, you came out of the arena Did you just look at the official forum Awe-inspiring evil. Melancholy sheep. Su Cheng WNU returned. Just now in the 4th district, she PK with White Wolf in the arena. Awe-inspiring evil. Really? Night Rain. Really? Delicate and pretty beauty. Melancholy sheep. Right now, ice-cold little hands' fingers that were typing in the message were sluggish. Your mother. The leader Darren who never spoke in the guild chat actually appeared today. Is it true? Is it a living person? Delicate and pretty beauty and beautiful sheep were both stupefied, and ice-cold little hands subconsciously turned his head to look at Su Rui who was sitting on the other side of the encampment and concentrating on typing. At this time, a new message appeared in the guild channel Night Rain. What happened to Su Cheng WNU? Actually, the original Situ Yi was a very introverted person, so he never chatted with others in the chat room before, and Su Rui was also not a person who liked to be lively. After becoming Situ Yi, he still maintained this habit of Situ Yi. Only, in the chat room settings, Su Rui set the words Su Cheng WNU as keywords. Once someone talked about Su Wan's name, his chat box would automatically pop up. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.